I swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Thomas, my name is Nicholas Bellamy. I represent Michael Thomas in this matter. I've got a few questions for you this morning, okay?
Okay.
Are you able to hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
If you can't hear me at any time, just please speak up and let us know, okay?
Okay.
Ms. Thomas, do you recall filing an income and expense affidavit in November of 2025?
Yes.
Okay. Are you able to locate that income and expense affidavit? Are you able to get a copy in front of you, or do you recall what that affidavit says?
I don't have the ability to get it in front of me, but if you could show it to me, I would be more than willing to look at it.
Okay. I don't know that I'll be able to show it to you this morning, but I can kind of walk you through it. So in your income and expense statement, you'd swore that your income was $3,314 per month. Is that correct?
Yes.
And is that still your income monthly?
Yes, that's my child support.
And so when you say your child support, is that for one child or for more than one child?
That's for more than one child.
Okay. So how many individuals are currently paying you child support?
2.
Were you previously married to those two individuals?
Just the first one, my 2 older kids' father.
So how much what is his name?
His name is Louis Lovejoy.
Louis Lovejoy. How much does Mr. Lovejoy pay you per month?
$2,050.
Okay. And then who else pays you child support?
Mario Ramos Tomasini.
Okay. And how much child support does he pay per month?
$1,260.
And then you have received $1,500 a month for Mr. Thomas since the court's entry of that temporary support order, correct?
Correct.
And in addition to that, Mr. Thomas is paying for the Ford Expedition, is that correct?
Yes.
And the Ford Expedition costs approximately $1,300 a month, is that
Yes.
correct? And he's also paying for the car insurance for that vehicle, is that correct?
Yes.
Is Mr. Thomas currently paying any other of your expenses?
No.
And so on this income and expense affidavit, you swore that you were paying $2,000 a month for food, is that correct?
Yes.
And an additional $1,000 a month for eating out.
Yes.
So it's your testimony before this court, you pay $3,000 a month for food.
Yes.
And that's for you and how many children?
That's for me and my parents and my children because I live within their home.
So you pay for your parents' food as well.
Yes.
Okay. So how much of that $3,000 per month goes towards your parents?
Oh gosh. I don't know because I do like when I go grocery shopping, it's boxed. So I mean, I wouldn't know how to break that down to how much they get a month for the food part.
And your parents don't provide you any money for the food?
No.
Are you paying your parents rent to live in their home?
So I give them money when I can. So sometimes it's 400, sometimes it's just when Michael started paying me the 1,500, I started giving them money back because they were helping support me during the time that he was not.
And you swore that you were paying $1,000 a month in breast milk, is that correct?
Yes.
And are you still paying $1,000 per month for breast milk?
No, sir.
So that expense is completely gone.
Yes.
Hygiene, diapers, and wipes. Are you paying $220 a month for diapers, wipes, and hygiene products still?
Yes.
And you swore on your income and expense affidavit that you were paying $640 a month for fuel. Is that accurate?
Not anymore. No, sir.
Because you have there written out in a parentheses that you fill up twice a week at $80 each time. Are you still doing that?
No, sir.
So how much are you spending a month on fuel now?
Maybe roughly 400.
Are you currently working anywhere?
No.
Okay. Are you going to school?
I am full-time,
Okay. When did you enroll in school?
January of this year.
And what are you going to school for?
Uh, well, my end goal is to go to law school, but I graduate next summer with a bachelor's degree in business administration.
How are you paying for school?
It is through the student loans.
How much student loans are you receiving? Is it a monthly basis? Is it a semester basis?
I don't know if it's like unsubsidized or I don't, but it's through the government, like, and they send the funds directly to the school.
Do you receive any other benefits going to school?
No,
Are you on food stamps?
no,
You have government health insurance.
yes,
Okay. Is that for you and the children that you are currently in your home?
uh, just for me and Scarlett.
And on your income and expense affidavit, you had swore that you were spending $130 a month on Burn Boot Camp. Do you still have that expense?
No, sir.
The $11 at Chuck E. Cheese monthly?
No, sir.
The $400 a month for your beauty care?
So I usually get my hair done every 6 weeks, and I would say that's $250 every 6 weeks is what I usually spend on my hair.
So not $400 a month.
That's correct.
$200 a month on family outings.
I would say that's accurate.
Before you went to school, did you hold employment?
No, sir.
When's the last time you were employed?
My last official job was like, I think when I was 16 when I worked for Wendy's, and then I worked for a short period of time at a urgent care when I was 18. And then when I lived in Texas, I walked dogs on the side and watched them. And that's it. And then I worked for the company a lot when I was with Michael. I worked with the business and meeting up with clients.
Did you receive a paycheck there?
No, sir.
And is your testimony you started school in January, but you'll graduate with a bachelor's degree. So do you currently hold an associate's degree already?
No, sir.
Okay. So when did you start school?
Back in 2000 and I started my sophomore year of high school taking dual college courses. And so when I graduated high school, I had like 21 credit hours through Marshall University. And then I had ongoing for a couple on and off semesters in my earlier 20s, and that's how I accumulated hours. I was at the time going for my teaching degree and quit that due to marriage and kids, and now I'm resuming a degree in business.
So you picked up school this past January and you already had more than half of your credit hours necessary for the bachelor's degree? Is that fair to say?
Yes,
You and Mr. Thomas were married approximately April 15th, 2024. Is that correct?
April 13th, I believe. Yes, sir.
13th, 2024. And you separated in September of 2025. Is that correct?
Yes,
So it's fair to say that you were together as a married couple for approximately 17 months?
yes, sir.
When was baby Thomas born?
March 17th of 2025.
And at what time did you start seeking an adoption?
I started looking into it about 2 months after. Well, I found out I was pregnant 2 months after giving birth to Scarlett. And right away, I started looking into it.
When did you make contact with the adoption agency that you're currently going through?
I would probably say around that time, if I recall correctly.
So it's your testimony that from the beginning of finding out you were pregnant with baby Thomas, that it was your plan to adopt her out. Is that correct?
That's correct.
But do you recall filing a motion in this court on May 6th of 2026, asking the court to increase spousal support and child support due to the birth of baby Thomas?
Yes.
And in that motion, I know you don't have it in front of you, but you stated that you had given birth to the husband's second child and your expenses have increased. Is that correct?
My lawyer, my previous counsel, had submitted that and then canceled it out because he was unaware that I was going to completely go through with the adoption. And when he had submitted that with the courts, he retracted it because of that.
So
That's
your
why
lawyer
it was.
didn't know that you were going through with the adoption. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And this court didn't know that you were going through with the adoption. Is that correct?
That's correct.
You might have mentioned it to Mr. Thomas, but you never confirmed with Mr. Thomas that you were going through with the adoption. Is that correct?
He would have known that I was going to go through with it because I told him I was going through with it.
When was that?
I don't know. It was roughly after I got pregnant because we were referring to his friends at first as a possibility to adopt her. And then after that, then they did not want to adopt her. They were almost an empty nester, and that was just out of the question for the wife at the time. And that's when I started seeking Christian adoption agencies to find a couple that could care for her.
And that was all prior to September of 2025, your contact with Mr. Thomas, correct?
Yes.
And after September of 2025, you don't communicate this to Mr. Thomas whatsoever. Is that correct?
Yep, I had a protective order.
And you know under that protection order, you can communicate with him. He just can't communicate with you. You understand that, correct?
Objection, calling for a legal conclusion.
I've sustained it unless the language is produced for her to examine and make a determination of what she understood it to be. So
I'll strike it.
let me say this. I will allow the question to be re-asked in a different format, but sustain it as to its present form. It's really what she understood that really matters, I guess.
Sure. Did you understand you could communicate with Mr. Thomas?
No,
You ever ask your attorney if you could communicate with him?
Objection, call.
no.
Sustain the objection.
I'll strike it, Judge. But you never informed Mr. Thomas, you never talked to him after September of 2025, correct?
That's correct.
And I know you don't have it in front of me, but did you understand that when this divorce was filed, a statutory injunction went into effect?
Yes.
And you understand that that statutory injunction prohibits you from doing certain things without the approval, permission from this court or an agreement of the parties. Do you understand that?
Yes, but I can't recall exactly everything that was located in that injunction.
And if that injunction, I'll read the relevant portion I'm referring to. There was an injunction filed in this court that states there's an injunction restraining both parties from relocating any children of the parties outside the state of Tennessee or more than 50 miles from the marital home without the permission of the other party or an order of the court, except in the case of a removal based upon a well-founded fear of physical abuse against either the fleeing parent or the child. In such cases, upon request of the non-relocating parent, the court will conduct an expedited hearing by phone conferences, if appropriate, to determine the reasonableness of the relocation to make such other orders appropriate. Did you understand that that was in effect during this
Yes.
divorce?
Yes, sir.
Relevance at this point, we've got an agreed order that was entered that me and opposing counsel has already talked about being entered as saying that she can relocate out of state to an undisclosed location because of the reasonable fear that she had of domestic violence within the.
When you make an objection, turn that on for that.
I thought it was on. I apologize. Oh,
Okay, as long as it's being picked up, because Ms. The reason I say that is your client cannot hear you unless that microphone is on.
Ms. Thomas, did you hear the objection, or do you need me to repeat it?
I heard it.
All right.
Judge,
So
I
you're-
would respond as follows.
You
It's
may.
absolutely relevant. The agreed order allowed Ms. Thomas to relocate with Scarlett to an undisclosed location, but it did not permit her to take baby Thomas and move her to Colorado without informing anybody, her attorney, this court, or Mr. Thomas. So it's absolutely relevant. She's violated the statutory injunction.
Overrule the objection. I believe that the statutory injunction and the agreed order would have covered Mrs. Thomas and Scarlett. Baby Thomas, as we're referring to that child, was not a life in being, I suppose, at the point in time when that order went down, and as a result, that order could not have applied to her. As I think counsel has pointed out, the question becomes then whether or not that's a violation of the statutory injunction for her to ship that child off to Colorado.
And Ms. Thomas, do you recall responding to interrogatories in this case? You filled out a packet of questions. And Ms. Thomas, I know you don't have these in front of you, but I would direct your attention to question number 31. It asked, please state the specific days and times that you propose the husband have parenting time with the minor children, and attach hereto as a request for production your proposed permanent parenting plan in this matter. Do you recall what your response was to that interrogatory?
I do not.
If it was 0 out of 365, would that be an accurate response?
Yes.
So you propose Mr. Thomas have no parenting time whatsoever, is that correct?
At that time, due to his behavior and what was going on within the relationship for the safety of our child, absolutely.
So it was your goal at that time to cut him out of the children's lives completely. Is that fair to say?
Not forever, sir, not if he got better.
And are you aware that since the events that occurred between you and Mr. Thomas, since he was charged criminally and entered that no contest plea, he has not been charged with any new criminal charges? Are you aware of that?
Can you restate that once again?
Since the events occurred between you and Mr. Thomas that led to him being charged with or pleading no contest to a simple assault and to a violation of a protective order, he has not been charged or arrested for any new offenses.
No, sir. He has not been.
Are you aware if he's violated his probation that he's on?
I wouldn't know that information, sir.
So as you sit here today, you have no new information from September 2025 to current with respect to Mr. Thomas.
I do, sir.
Okay, and what is that?
He got arrested back in Georgia in the month of February for speeding, going 101, I believe, in a 70-mile-per-hour zone. And that was when they arrested him. They found out that he had an active arrest warrant in the county of York in South Carolina. They extradited him after he spent, I think it was 8 days in jail down in Georgia. They extradited him for a felony assault charge against a woman that I'm unaware of who she is. And he served there until he was, I believe he bonded out, or whatever the term is with that. And that was for aggravated assault in the second degree. He was also arrested you said from the events of September to current. He was arrested for a violation of the protective order when my daughter and I had an appointment to go to in Nashville. He took my vehicle out of the parking garage, at which the detective that was on the case at the time had gotten video surveillance of him taking my vehicle after I had arrived there to leave me stranded there with no vehicle. Metro PD put a bolo out for the vehicle. and he got arrested in Montgomery County for taking the vehicle. And I believed at that time, I could be inaccurate, but I believe that's when they arrested him for the domestic assault and the violation of the protective order. There was also another arrest for violation of his, I think it's restriction of his bond. Trying to recall some more things.
So that was all around that, the violation of the protection order that he was arrested for and entered a no contest plea to. That was on or around that September 2025 timeframe. Is that correct?
I think the majority of the violations, because there was multiple times that the police were called out to the property. I think a lot of it was done in October, the month of October, I believe.
And then the other incidents you mentioned, the speeding, the warrant for his arrest, in, I believe you said Georgia. Do you know when those violations occurred?
February 8th, I think, is when he got arrested in Georgia.
Not my question, ma'am. I'm asking, do you know when those violations occurred? When he allegedly broke the law in those states?
If you can give me a minute, I can pull it up. If you
I'm asking,
do you want me to give you exact dates?
when those were?
I'm sorry, can you repeat yourself again?
Thomas, I'm asking if you have personal knowledge as you sit here right now, not without looking at anything. I'm asking if you have personal knowledge of when those violations allegedly occurred.
February 8th was when he got arrested, best to my recollection. And February 16th was when he got extradited to South Carolina.
But I request the court direct her to answer my question. I'm not asking when he was
Ms.
arrested.
Thomas, you need to listen to what he's asking. He's asking you if you know, when is it alleged that he actually violated the law that led to those warrants being arrested? Not when he was picked up, but when,
Oh,
how old were the charges is I think what is being asked. If you know. If you don't know, that's okay.
April, I want to say April 17. I just can't recollect the day.
Well, rather than look at something that we can't see, you just need to answer from your memory. If you have memory.
That's my memory, sir, is April of 2017.
April of 2017.
Yes.
That was before you met Mr. Thomas, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Before you had children with Mr. Thomas, is that correct?
The video cut off. I'm sorry. What was that?
Okay, that was before you had children with Mr. Thomas, is that correct?
The April 2017. Yeah, because we were not together, sir.
The adoptive parents in Colorado, do you know who they are?
Yes, sir.
Do you have a personal relationship with them?
Yes, sir.
Do you know who they were prior to the adoption placement?
No, sir.
So did you meet them through the adoption agency?
Yes, sir.
Let's make clear, those are potential adoptive parents. This court is
Certainly.
of the opinion, and I have ruled that this court has jurisdiction over the custody of that baby Thomas, and that in this court's opinion, that Colorado does not have the authority to grant an adoption. So when we refer to those folks out there in Colorado, they are potential adoptive parents. They are not adoptive parents.
Thank you, Judge.
I'd also, at this point, I know we're going down this line of questioning. I'm just going to.
Is your microphone on?
It is, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'm just going to, thank you.
Yes, that's all right. I just wanted, you can pull it there closer so that Ms. Thomas can hear you. So.
I also might be just height-wise too far away from it, but when it comes to that, I'm just going to object to the relevance of what we have going on here. The court's already entered a stay as far as the issues of that child that's going through the adoption. I think it's well established at this point that adoption proceeding is going on, but in terms of what we have here today, I don't think that it has any relevance.
Let me make clear one thing. This court today is considering what sort of parenting plan that I should put down in this case. And there's no question, the parties have conceded that I have the right to make a parenting plan for Scarlett Thomas, who is the biological child of these two parents. I have deferred to an interlocutory appeal on the question of jurisdiction to avoid any kind of long-term issues, but I fully expect the Court of Civil Appeals is going to affirm what I have ruled as far as the jurisdiction. I may be wrong. But in this case, we all know what the statutory factors are, and the statutory factors are that I have to consider who should be the primary residential parent, and that's what I'm going to be doing today. And part of those factors are going to be what kind of relationship each of them has with the child that I'm going to be entering an order on, and whether one of the parents has encouraged a healthy relationship with the other parent. And the fact that Ms. Thomas, for whatever reason, is willing to give up a newborn infant, a child of Mr. Thomas's, to some other third parties for adoption is in fact a factor that this court will consider in weighing those statutory factors regarding Scarlett's custody. So I overrule your objection. I think it's highly relevant, and you will be allowed to ask all the questions that you like.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Thomas, we haven't seen any of these documents. These documents haven't been produced to us yet, but you are currently in the state of Virginia or West Virginia?
West Virginia.
West Virginia. And in West Virginia, you engaged in what's called an ICPC process. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And in that ICPC process, did you have to identify who baby Thomas's father was?
Yes, sir.
Did you identify who baby Thomas's
Yes,
father
sir.
was? Okay. Did you provide baby Thomas's father's contact information during that ICPC process?
Yes, to the lawyer at the time in West Virginia, I did.
Okay. Did you ever direct that lawyer to contact Mr. Thomas?
Client privilege again at this point.
I don't think she can be asked about communication she had with her former lawyer, so sustain the objection.
So it's your testimony, you identified Mr. Thomas as the father during that ICPC process.
Yes, sir.
Did you make any reasonable efforts to notify Mr. Thomas about that process?
There was a protection order in place.
And so it's your basis you didn't notify Mr. Thomas due to the protection order.
So that the record is clear, do you want to define what the ICPC is that you're referring to?
It's the Interstate Compact on the Placement of Children. And that's the process you engaged in when you sent the child from West Virginia to Colorado. And so
Yes.
it's your testimony as it sits here today that you did not notify Mr. Thomas of that process due to the protective order that was in place.
Yes. And there was also a lawyer that was hired on my behalf from the couple that was paid to represent and handle the legal proceedings involving anything that had to do with the father. I am not sure what those legalities are in regards to what they do when it comes to notifying the father or mother at any given case. I followed the instructions and I did whatever the adoption lawyer had asked me to comply with.
So you're receiving money from these potential adoptive parents.
I have not received money from the potential parents.
They've paid your attorney's fees, though.
They have to pay for the fees associated with the attorneys to be representing on my behalf in West Virginia.
Have they paid your attorney's fees here in Tennessee?
No, no, sir.
But they paid your attorneys in West Virginia.
The one that's representing the adoption to help the ICPC to be complied with Colorado. Yes, sir.
Do you know how much they paid that attorney?
I can't give you an amount. I truly don't know.
Ms. Thomas, what is your current school schedule?
So as soon as the kids go to bed at night, I usually stay up roughly around probably 9 o'clock, depending on what time the kids get into bed, until midnight to 1 o'clock every morning, sir.
Your classes are between midnight and 1 o'clock every morning?
I can do the scheduling whenever I want, and my time is I do it so I don't take away from the kids during the day. Is whenever they get to bed, that's when I get my schoolwork done.
So your schoolwork is done fully remote.
That's correct.
You don't attend any in-person classes.
That's correct.
And how many credit hours are you currently enrolled in?
Oh, I'm full-time. But the way it's broken up is that it's so every 6 weeks we get 2 new classes and but we go it's year round. So like I'm going like right now in the summertime. So it's not traditional where you get like four classes to the semester and you get the 12 hours by the time summer hits. It's you get 2 classes every 6 weeks and they just renew till I graduate.
Do you have any childcare expenses?
No, sir.
Do you have any childcare expenses?
No, sir.
So who watches the children if you were to leave the house? Do your parents provide childcare for you?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
And how often do you leave the house? How often do they provide childcare?
Seldomly ever. I'm with the kids 24/7 usually. I mean, if I have to go to the store and on a grocery run, they'll keep them while I go on a grocery run so I don't have to drag 4 kids out of the house. But for any extended length of time, unless it's I don't know, like when I was with Michael, they took Scarlett for a week and gave him and me some time together after she was born, but outside of like a grocery trip here or there, they don't keep them.
And Scarlett was approximately 7 months old when you relocated, is that correct?
Yes, about 7 months old.
And during those 7 months, did Mr. Thomas interact with Scarlett?
Yes, sir.
Did he help feed her?
Yes.
Did he help change her diapers?
No.
Did he provide for her?
Well, I provided the milk and that's what she drank.
Okay. Who bought the clothes?
Michael did.
Who bought the cribs, the baby furniture, the car seats?
Michael did.
Judge, if I may just have one
You
moment.
may. Mr. Kirby, you may examine your client.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. Morning, Ms. Thomas. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Perfect. I'm going to ask you a few questions. Again, I'll reiterate what Mr. Bellamy said, which is if you can't hear me, don't understand me, it cuts out, just let me know, okay?
Okay.
All right, so you relocated to West Virginia after there was an order of protection filed, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And there was an agreed order that was also entered, is that your understanding?
Yes, sir.
And that agreed order read that through the final hearing of the divorce, the wife and minor child are allowed to relocate out of the state of Tennessee to an undisclosed location of wife's choosing due to a well-founded fear of physical abuse against the wife and minor child, correct?
Yes.
And it also stated that the parties have agreed to extend the existing order of protection and reserve the hearing on the appeal to be heard in conjunction with the final hearing of the divorce in this matter. Is that correct?
Yes.
And this is also what allowed Mr. Thomas to return to the marital residence at 1790 Cedar Creek Road, Van Leer, Tennessee. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was signed off on by this court on November 3rd of 2025. And shortly after that, you relocated to where you are now. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir.
Um, Now, I want to talk about where Mr. Bellamy left off, okay?
Okay.
You weren't employed during your time in the house with Mr. Thomas, were you?
No, sir.
Aside from child support, during your time of being in the house with Mr. Thomas, did you have any other form of income coming in?
No, sir.
And truthfully speaking, child support's not really income, is it? You're being paid because that's what is court ordered for you to be paid so you can provide for your other children, right?
That's correct.
And as far as your other children, give the court a breakdown, how, not the children that are involved in this case, but what other children do you have?
I have a 16-year-old daughter named Bria, a 14-year-old son. His name is Dominic, a 4-year-old named Connor.
4-year-old named Connor, okay. And would you agree with me when I say that there's more to being a parent than simply paying for things?
Yes, sir.
On a day-to-day basis in your home, who was the person providing things that were not financial?
I was, sir.
As far as it relates to Scarlett, let's concentrate on that for a second, okay? Uh, Scarlett, I believe you insinuated was breastfed, is that right?
That's correct.
So obviously you were doing that. That's physiological. That is what it is. In terms of when Scarlett cried at night and needed a diaper change, who did that?
I did, sir.
In terms of bath time, who was primarily in charge of that?
I did, sir.
As far as going and getting the clothes that were being purchased for Scarlett, who was in charge of that?
I was, sir.
In terms of taking the child to medical appointments, who was in charge of that?
I was, sir.
In terms of taking the child out to have any sort of outing, who was primarily responsible for that?
I was, sir.
Were there any conversations with Mr. Thomas during the time that y'all lived together that gave you pause in terms of his willingness to care for Scarlett?
Can you repeat that question? I'm so sorry.
No, you're perfectly fine, ma'am. Were there any conversations between you and Mr. Thomas during the time that you were living together and Scarlett had been born that gave you pause about Mr. Thomas's willingness to care for the child?
Yes.
Can you give the court an example of that?
Yes, there was multiple times that I would ask after he would get home from work to please help her, like hold her while I was cooking dinner. And he was not willing to hold her because he wanted to sit in his chair and not be proactive and help me with her. There was a time that I had asked him after she was born to watch her so I could go to his sister's bachelorette weekend, and he was not able to take care of her. A lot of times during the rapidly deteriorating relationship that I had with him, he was in no shape, way, or form of being able to care for a child while he was locked up in a room for multiple hours on multiple occasions.
And I'm going to stop you right there and I'm going to go over some of those, okay? I'm going to start where you started, which was that there were times where you would ask him to take care of Scarlett when he got home and he said no. I'm paraphrasing there, but that was essentially your testimony, right?
Yes, sir.
You were here yesterday when Mr. Thomas was testifying before this court under oath, right?
Yes.
Did you hear his testimony where he was glad to have the child thrust into his arms?
Every day at 6 p.m., he stated.
What was that,
And he
ma'am?
also stated every hour and a half in the, I'm sorry.
You were cutting out every day at 6 p.m.
He stated that he was given Scarlet, and then every morning, an hour and a half in the mornings before he left for work, that he would take care of her while I got things done.
And from your experience, was that an accurate summation of what was going on in y'all's marital residence?
That was further from the truth.
In terms of getting the child up and ready in the morning, who was doing that?
That was me.
In terms of getting the child ready for bed and reading bedtime stories, doing bad time, putting on pajamas, who was doing that?
I was.
Now, you talked a little bit about there was a period of time where you went to his sister's bachelorette party, I believe is what you stated. Did I get that right?
Yes.
And where was that bachelorette party at?
So we went to his sister's house. It was in Dallas, Georgia.
Okay. And during that time, how long were you going to be gone for?
It was the weekend, I believe. I might have left on a Thursday or Friday and then returned on Sunday.
So what we're talking there is potentially, at most, a Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, 3 nights that you would have been gone, correct?
That's correct.
And you, as Mr. Thomas's spouse, asked Mr. Thomas to take care of Scarlett?
Yes, sir.
And what was Mr. Thomas's response?
To take her with me.
And did he give you a particular reason why he was unwilling or unable or incapable of watching his child for at most 3 nights?
No, sir.
Where you were going to a bachelorette party. Did you take Scarlett with you?
No, sir.
What happened with Scarlett during that period of time?
I met my parents and they took care of her for that weekend.
Okay. And sorry, my laptop shut off there. I apologize. Did any of your other children go with you during that period as well? Ms. Thomas, can you still hear us?
Stayed at the house.
I'm so
Yes,
sorry.
I can hear you.
You were cutting out on us. Where were the other children at that point?
Okay. The 2 older children were with Michael, and then my 4-year-old was with his dad.
Okay. And the 4-year-old would be Connor, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Have you had issues in your relationship with Mr. Thomas on how he treated you?
Yes, sir.
Y'all got married in, I believe you said it was April of 2024, is that correct?
That's correct.
And were you having issues fairly soon after that?
Yes, sir.
Let's talk about your family. Did you have a good relationship with your family?
Okay.
A consistent form of communication with your family prior to your marriage with Mr. Thomas?
Yes, sir.
What about after your marriage to Mr. Thomas?
At the beginning of our marriage, well, actually the month prior to our marriage, after I came back to him, after we had broken up, he made me choose between him and my family and had me cut off contact with my parents
How long did that?
from the months of February to July.
Understood. Go.
From February to July of 2000.
From February of July of 2004?
24.
24. Okay. I said 2004. I meant 2024. I apologize. Thank you for correcting me. Was there times where Mr. Thomas would leave you stranded in some way, shape, or form?
Yes, there was a multitude of times that he left me and or the kids with me stranded.
Let's take maybe a lesser part of this, but was there a time in December of, on or about December 12th where he did something to the residents?
Yes, December. There was a period of time in December of 20, it was 23. It was right after we first met. We met in September of 23. In December of 23, he had left me stranded at the house for 3 days. He took the keys, my wallet, my cell phone, shut off the Starlink Wi-Fi, and left me there at the house with my 4-year-old with no way of getting out of the house.
Is
On
it-
the 4th,
I'm just
I
laying a
don't think it's
foundation,
relevant if it's prior to the marriage.
just laying a foundation for this one. I'm moving past it
I
very
understand
quickly.
that she knew what had happened and she still married him, so.
Well, let's talk about something that happened during the marriage. Was there a time that you went to Virginia in December of 2024?
Virginia in December of 2024?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
And what happened while you were in Virginia in December of 2024 after the marriage?
After the marriage, he had basically done all that.
And Ms. Thomas, I'm going to ask you, is there another area of the residence that you could maybe move to see if we get a better internet connection? Because it is difficult to hear you at this point.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I
Can
can
you
hear you
hear me
better.
now?
Yes, yes, ma'am, I can.
Okay.
And just for the
Okay.
record, because I know I had you move areas, just for the record, is there anyone else that is around you in the area that you are at right now?
No, sir, I'm in a basement.
Okay, so there's no one else that's there to interfere with your testimony?
No, I can show you if you all would like.
No, you're under oath. That's perfectly fine. Now, you were describing the incident that
Okay.
took place in Virginia after y'all's marriage. Please start that again because I did not hear any of it. I apologize.
Yes, sir. It was just another one of the times where he would threaten to kick me and the kids out. And at that time, he was telling me he was going to get a U-Haul and move all of our belongings outside of the house, and that we were going to have to figure out and to have daddy come and get our stuff to move it back to West Virginia.
And were y'all staying in a hotel at that point? When you
Not at that point, no. We were at my parents' house in West
Okay.
Virginia.
was there a time where you stayed in a hotel in Virginia?
There was a time that we stayed in a hotel in Georgia. There was 2 separate occasions in Georgia after we were married that he left us stranded there at the hotel.
And when did those occur?
One was in, I think it was May, I would say roughly May of 25. It was for my sister-in-law's baby shower. We were down there, and I had been up all night with the baby, just like I normally was caring for the child. And it was about 6:50 that morning, I finally woke him up in the hotel to help me with her because I was so exhausted. And he told me to shut the blank up and to shut the blanking baby up and to let her cry it out. And then it escalated, and he had left the hotel. He had,
When Mr. Thomas left, did he take anything with him?
yes, he took the vehicle and his like belongings and his stuff with him. Yes, sir.
The bag that he had been traveling with, he put in the vehicle and left?
Yes, sir.
Were you left with a vehicle? Did you have a secondary vehicle at that location?
No, sir.
And who was with you while you were at that hotel?
It was me, my son Dominic, and my son Connor.
Was Scarlett with you?
Oh, yeah, Scarlett too. Yes,
Okay.
sir.
So you had your 2 kids, which would be and would have been at that point Mr. Thomas's 2 stepchildren, and the child that y'all have in common at that point, Scarlett, is with you.
Yes, sir.
And what happened next after that? Did he immediately return? Was he back in 5 minutes and apologizing?
No, he wasn't. He actually packed up and headed to his sister's, and I went and tried to call him numerous times. He wouldn't answer my calls. And at that time, I was trying to figure out how am I going to get out of here because he had took our vehicle that we had drove down there with away. And when I went to go try to purchase the kids and I lunch that day, he had drained the account. And so we had no money either to purchase anything while we probably sat in the hotel lobby that day, probably about 2 to 3 hours, because in the meantime, thankfully, his sister was able to talk him into coming back and dropping off the vehicle so she could drive him back so he wouldn't leave us stranded.
And to be fair, you had asked to go anywhere that day or go see a site with the children or anything like that?
Yes, I wanted to go to the Georgia Aquarium.
And is that what sparked this incident with Mr. Thomas?
Initially, before the trip, I had told him I wanted to go to the Georgia Aquarium, and he was fine with it at the time. And then after we got down there, the whole waking him up at 6:50 in the morning to take care of Scarlett, I think was the escalating spiral. And then it spiraled into, then he blamed it on me wanting to go to the aquarium, that he was not gonna, since he was the man of the house, that he had charge of what was going to be financed on trips, and the aquarium was not one of those items that he was willing to finance, and that was his reasons for shutting off my ability to pay or to get our food or anything, was because I went against what he said and about going to the aquarium.
And when you say that you tried to purchase lunch for you and the children, were you going to a steakhouse and having a $300 lunch?
No, sir, I was at the hotel with no way to get anywhere, so I tried to DoorDash us some lunch.
And is that when you found out about the funds being insufficient?
Yes, I went to go check out and the card was declined, and that's when I found out he had zeroed out the bank account.
How did you end up getting lunch that day?
I did, sir.
How did that happen?
My parents sent me money.
And you went down there for his sister's baby shower, if I remember correctly from your testimony. Is that right?
That's correct.
Did you go to his sister's baby shower?
Yes, sir.
You said that there was another incident as well. When did the second incident take place that you referred to?
Yeah, so there was another incident where I went down there for his sister's bachelorette party,
And when about did that occur?
September of 25.
Understood. So this was not long before everything filed with the order of protection, separation, things like that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so were you going back to Georgia?
I was going back to Georgia, yes, to the same one that had the baby shower.
Okay, and tell us a little bit about what happened when you were down there for the bachelorette party.
So I go down there, and prior to going down there, he had went the prior night, when I had asked him to, well, not even the prior night, it was prior to even leaving that I'd asked him to take Scarlett, and he said no, and he was willing to keep the two older kids there, but to
Well,
me,
let's back up for a second. This was the start, this was the time that you had talked about previously where your parents kept Scarlett because he was unwilling to for those 2 to 3 nights, right?
that's true. Yes.
All right. And so you go down to Georgia at that point, and what happens when you're in Georgia?
He cuts off the funds to the bank account the morning that we were supposed to do things for the bachelorette trip.
Had you were you providing certain things for his sister, considering it was her bachelorette trip during that period?
Yes, sir.
And what sort of things were you providing?
Well, I was in charge of, I was gonna pay for her half of her spa, like her spa day, because no one makes the bride pay for her stuff. And then we were going out to dinner, and I was gonna be paying for her meal as well.
And had you talked about that with Mr. Thomas ahead of time?
Yes, sir.
And was Mr. Thomas in agreement with that prior to?
Yes. Yes, sir.
And did you actually check the bank account at some point and to make sure there was money in there prior to going to Georgia or while you were in Georgia?
Well, the money was in there until the morning I left. I believe I was getting gas that morning and my card was declined. That's when I noticed that there was no funds available in the account and he had withdrew everything.
And so you were able to check that. You saw that.
Yes, sir.
That was far different than what it was previously.
That's correct.
Um, these are two events in which your testimony is that he zeroed out these bank accounts. Are these the only two times that that happened?
No, there has been a multitude of times that he has emptied out the bank account unless I meet certain stipulations that he has me meet, and then he'll end up putting it back in.
Did he do it? Did he empty out the bank account in May of 2025?
May of 2012, sorry. Yes, sir.
May of 2025 or
May of 25. Let me recollect, sir. May of 25. Yeah, that was when his the baby shower was. That's when he emptied out the bank account at the baby shower.
was there another time in August of that same year?
Yes, sir.
Was there another time later in September?
Yes, sir.
Were there times before that as well during the marriage?
There were several times, most of the time when he would get in his rages and he would get angry and lose control, then he would cut off the finances and or take my car keys with it.
When you say that there were certain stipulations that you had to meet in order for him to then put money into the account, can you give the court an example of what those types of stipulations were?
Yes, send him nude photos of myself and or perform favors for him.
I would say sexual favors.
Yes.
And I'll note for the record, Mr. Thomas laughing in the background as she's testifying. When it comes to obviously, we've been over the financial aspect here during y'all's marriage. Let's talk about the personality that you're dealing with, okay?
Okay.
In terms of the personality you're dealing with, was Mr. Thomas an easygoing guy?
There was at times when he was okay. Yes, sir.
And what about the times when he wasn't?
When it wasn't, it was really bad, sir.
And what sort of things would be happening at that point?
He would break things. He would cuss and go into rages, and I say verbally and emotionally torment me. And he would also, at one of the times, he had cleared out the freezer and took all the belongings in the freezer in the truck as a form of punishment when the house wasn't cleaned. There was a time when he had the 3 days that he had left me stranded at the house, that he too at that point had cleared out the fridge. There was a time which I believe we have the recording, where he took the oven cord and ripped it out of the wall and left us without a working oven for 7 days because the house wasn't cleaned right after I had Scarlett as well.
And I want to lay a couple extra questions on you for all of the things you just described to the court, okay?
Okay.
All you just described, did all of those things happen after y'all's marriage?
Other than the 3 days that he left me stranded at the house and wiped out the freezer, all those happened after the marriage, sir.
Okay. And during those times, did you have your children, who would have been Mr. Thomas's stepchildren, in the home with you?
Yes, sir.
And on some of those occasions, you talked about at least one of those occasions occurred after Scarlett was born.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to get to the video in a moment, but I want to ask you some more things about how he would interact with you, okay?
Okay.
You said that he would throw things or break things. I can't remember which word you used, so I apologize. Did that happen on one occasion, multiple occasions?
Multiple occasions.
And did that happen after Scarlett was born as well?
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Did that happen in front of Scarlett?
There was a few times that it happened in front of Scarlett. Yes, sir.
Did it happen on those occasions where it happened in front of Scarlett? Did it happen ever when you were holding Scarlett or while you were trying to take care of Scarlett?
He threw a vape pen bottle at me when I was holding Scarlett.
Okay. Um,
He had also tried to wrestle papers out of my hands when I was holding Scarlett.
and so we understand that Mr. Thomas is here asking for his motion is asking for basically emergency custody of Scarlett, correct?
Yes, sir.
You understand that as far as why we're here today, right?
Yes, sir.
And during those times that y'all were having these issues, did Mr. Thomas appear to be worried about the safety of Scarlett?
No, sir.
Did Mr. Thomas appear to be worried about the safety of Scarlett when he left you stranded without any money and food?
No, sir.
Hold on just a second. Appear to be worried, I think it does call for speculation.
I,
If that is on, you got to touch that base of that to make sure it's on.
I've got it on
There
now,
it
Judge.
is.
I can rephrase it on that, Your Honor. When Mr. Thomas would throw things in the home, were you worried about the safety of Scarlett when he was doing these things?
Yes, sir.
When you were left without money and without transportation in a different state, were you worried about the safety of Scarlett during these occasions?
Yes, sir.
Is Mr. Thomas, when he gets into these fits, some people just break things, some people just throw things. Would he still be calm in the way that he's talking to you, or would he yell? How was
He was
his,
he was a screamer, sir.
did he say certain things to you, call names, make retorts to you?
I always got called an abundance of names, sir.
And Your Honor, I always ask before doing this in any court, but I'm going to ask her what those names were for her recollection. Do you want her to say those outright, or do you want her
That
to
is
clean
your
it up?
choice. I am old enough that I've heard every word that you can imagine having been used between two people. So if you want it as a part of the record, then go for it.
I do, Your Honor. Ms. Thomas, I know that it might be awkward and it might not be what you want to do, but can you give us examples of names that Mr. Thomas would have been calling you?
I know it's childish, but can I please spell them? I do not like to cuss.
You can clean them up however you need to.
Okay. CUNTBITCHADICK, spear chucker. Well, the horror word. Let's see. He called me a PUSSY liquor.
And I know this is, I can tell from your face that this is a little bit of a struggle for you. So I'm going to stop you there, okay? These things that you've described, as far as these names that you were being called, were these happening in front of your children, Mr. Thomas's stepchildren?
Yes, sir.
Were these things, I know that Scarlett was young, I get that, but were they happening in front of Scarlett as well?
Yes, sir.
You sent me a video at one point of an interaction that you had with Mr. Thomas. Do you remember that video?
Yes, sir.
And do you remember about when that video was taken?
I think it was about May of 25, sir.
I'm going to play that video for you. Do you recall the video itself?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to play it while I'm sitting here next to the microphone so that you can identify it, and then I'm going to play it for the court, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, this is how motherfuckers get woke up when they don't do their goddamn job. I do my motherfucking job every day.
Now I'm going to stop it right there, okay? do you recognize, there, I heard two voices in that recording. Do you recognize the two voices?
Yes, sir.
Who are those two voices?
Mine and Michael's.
And you heard the testimony of Mr. Thomas yesterday, right?
Yes, sir.
And he was a little bit evasive when this video got played and said that it might have been his son because his son sounds exactly like him. Do you remember that testimony that I'm paraphrasing?
Yes, sir. He said it was his son, Dalton.
And have you interacted with Dalton?
Yes.
And does Dalton sound like Mr. Thomas?
No, sir.
Do they have two very distinct voices to you?
Yes, sir.
You are under oath here today. In terms of percentages of how sure you are that this is Mr. Michael Thomas, your spouse, in this video.
I'm going to object to that line of questioning, Judge. Asking her, for one, I don't think she's a voice expert. Two, to state a percentage that she is certain that this is his voice versus her voice, or versus the son's voice. I just don't
I'm
think
not
that's
sure there is
appropriate.
a technical process that you can determine a percentage of certainty that someone is. She says it's him, she says it's him.
Understood. I was just going through. I apologize. Now I'm gonna restart this video. And to be fair, is there anything specific about the actual video portion of this that you sent me, or is it mainly just the audio?
It's mainly the audio, sir.
Okay. Who took this video?
My daughter did.
Okay. And you were present when this was happening, right?
Yes, sir.
And does this video capture truthfully the situation that you found yourself in on that day?
Yes, and in multiple other occasions.
Understood. I'm going to restart it and then play it for you, okay?
All right.
This is bullshit. You see this nasty fucking mess? Yeah, this is how motherfuckers get woke up when they don't do their goddamn job. I do my motherfucking job every day. This motherfucking family's gonna learn what life is like. Or they're gonna get the fuck out and go to their goddamn dads. See this shit right here? This is pigs. This is fucking slop right here. And evil, I'm just letting you know. Motherfuckers ain't gonna ride for free. That ain't how life works. You don't run around town eating big food all day, come home, cook a big meal, and leave a big goddamn mess in the fucking kitchen. They gonna wake the fuck up. Yeah. Motherfuckers can't go to school, they can clean the goddamn kitchen. Oh. Maybe not how you raise them, but this ain't even right, man. I got up in the corner and I knew. When I seen this shit, matter of fact, I done took the fucking intel off the stove. That stove don't work no more. This house, all we cooking is cold motherfucking meals so we can motherfuckers learn how to help clean. I know, I'm serious. I'm fucking serious. This is a goddamn slop podcast, and I'm not having it no more.
You're not setting an example right now. You're just being a douchebag.
A douchebag. Alright. Here's a douchebag. Making a mess. And that's what they do all goddamn day is make fucking messes. Now motherfuckers wanna go live with their dad? They can fucking go.
Michael,
They wanna stay here, they go have chores.
Michael,
Fuck, he's about to get up.
why would you do that to a child, Michael? Think about it.
Dude,
Don't
it's
do that
time to get up. Do you see the sun?
children. They don't deserve to wake up like this, Michael. Stop it.
Why not? You're not sending them to fucking school. Motherfuckers can't even get off their ass and go to fucking school. Really? What's the purpose of that?
Please stop.
I'm about to go take a fucking shower.
It doesn't matter. You don't sit here and you don't act like this.
Now, when you got truancies living in my fucking house, I have something to say about that. That's called breaking the fucking law. What's the excuse? What's the excuse? What is the excuse? What is it? Answer the question. Why don't you answer the damn question, Rachel? Oh, I'm not to be brought in on this, okay? Well, go to your fucking dad's house, and then you motherfucking leave, and not coming back. This ain't how I'm gonna live.
Ms. Thomas, did you recognize that video? Did
Yes, sir.
you recognize the audio?
Yes, sir.
And again, just to make clear, was that an accurate representation of the interaction you had on that day?
Yes, sir.
And from that, I think I'm not an electrician or very handy whatsoever, but I think there was a reference to the stove and eating cold meals. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And how long was the stove unusable after that?
7 days.
And who was in the house during that period of time?
Me, Scarlett, Brian, Dominic, and Connor.
Did you need that stove to be able to warm up things for your children, his stepchildren?
Yes, sir.
You need that to be able to warm up things for yourself?
Yes, sir.
You need that to be able to warm up things for Scarlett?
Yes, sir.
I know that she was breastfed, but did you, some people, and I don't know what you did at this point, but did you pre-pump and freeze and things like that?
Yes, sir.
And so if that was done in that manner, did you typically warm up water on the stove to?
Yeah, typically I used a pan of water on the stove and got it boiling, then I would sit the frozen breast milk pouch down in it, sir.
And you were unable to do that during that period of time?
That's correct.
What adjustments did you have to make in taking care of, I'm going to concentrate on Scarlett here. During those 7 days, what adjustments did you have to make to take care of her and make sure she was fed?
Well, I either nursed her off of me or I ran the frozen pouches underneath the sink in the the water in the sink, sir.
And, Your Honor, I've got that on a flash drive. I'll make that an exhibit.
All right, mark it as the next in order.
Just making sure the court was ready. I apologize.
All right, go ahead.
Ms. Thomas, I think you started off before that video got played of saying that this was one of several examples of what happened in your home. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Was the behavior that we heard on that video, was that out of the ordinary?
No, sir.
About how often would you say that your spouse would get angry and behave in a similar manner?
I would say probably at least 4 or 5 times a month, sir.
Did you feel safe before you separated from Mr. Thomas? Did you feel safe in that home?
No, sir.
Before you separated from Mr. Thomas, did you feel safe for your children, his stepchildren?
No, sir.
Before you separated from Mr. Thomas, did you feel safe for Scarlett?
When I was separated from him, is that what you ask?
Right before you separated, were you feeling safe?
No, sir.
After you separated, there were instances as well of him violating the order of protection, COR, whatever it might have been, violations being brought against Mr. Thomas. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And one of those had to deal with the vehicle as well, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You drive, what vehicle do you drive?
A 2024 Ford Expedition.
And who bought that vehicle? Who bought that vehicle?
Michael,
And what was your understanding of that vehicle? Was it his vehicle that he primarily operated? Was it a gift to you? Did you primarily operate it? How did that work on your day-to-day life?
it was a Valentine's Day gift to me to use. I used it all the time, sir.
That was your main form of transportation?
Yes, sir.
And after the order of protection had been entered, was there an instance that that vehicle was taken?
Yes, sir.
And were you aware that Mr. Thomas, excuse me, was taking the vehicle on that instance?
No, sir.
And where were you when that happened?
I was taking my 16-year-old daughter, well, she was 15 at the time, up to a orthopedic appointment up in Nashville at the doctor's office.
Now, is during that time you had no communication with Mr. Thomas, is that correct?
That's correct.
And during that time, you were going to an appointment for what would have been his stepchild at that point, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was Mr. Thomas listed on the paperwork for the stepchild, or should he have gotten any sort of notification about the appointment being made for that day?
No, sir.
And so you went there, and I'm assuming you drove the expedition, is that right?
Yes, sir.
When you came out, was the expedition there?
No, sir. It was gone.
And did you see another vehicle there?
Yes, it was his white Ford Super Duty truck.
And do you know, sitting here today, how Mr. Thomas found out that you were there on that day at that time to take the Ford Expedition?
Back into the criminal, when I was there at the criminal court in March for his set of charges, the prosecutor, I believe it was the prosecutor, had told me that he located.
Hold on just a second. We have an objection.
And I will rephrase my question because I think it's going to be a hearsay objection and I
All
don't
right, sustain the
disagree.
objection.
Ms. Thomas, I'm going to ask you a different question real quick, okay?
Okay.
Don't tell me what the prosecutor said or anything else.
Okay.
When you walked out of the appointment that day, did you know how or why Mr. Thomas knew where you were to come and steal that Ford Expedition from your
No,
possession?
sir.
Did that cause you concern?
Yes, sir.
Was there anyone else with you when you were going to that appointment?
Yes, it was all of us. I think Connor was with us. So it was Bria, Dominic, Scarlett, and Connor. We were all there.
So at that point in time, again, this was a vehicle that you had used to transport the stepchildren and the biological child at issue. And that
Yes,
was
sir.
and that was taken from you, right?
Yes, sir.
I want to go back to kind of the anger aspect of things for just a second. I'll describe something to you that you've also sent to me. Did you receive a check from Mr. Thomas dated for July 1st of this year for $1,500?
Yes, sir.
Was there something written in the memo line for that?
Yes, sir.
Remember what that was?
Lies and stealing.
It says telling lies and stealing, and that's what the payment was for, right?
Yes, sir.
Are those, I'm passing that up, and if I may make that an exhibit, Your Honor. Are those types of comments things that Mr. Thomas would make to you routinely throughout y'all's relationship and marriage?
Yes, especially when I believe he was in delusional rages that he would sit there and accuse, for instance, my 16-year-old daughter, well, she was 15 at the time, of purposely stealing his clothes and taking them to school because that's what 15-year-olds do. That's what she does. That's how she rolls. That was one example.
Did
And
any of that make sense to you whatsoever?
no, sir, it did not. Why?
As far as there were some things said about you from Mr. Thomas yesterday, okay? And I'm referring specifically to Mr. Thomas claiming that you had sexual relations with his older children and pretty much everyone in his company, from what I could tell from his testimony. Do you recall that?
That's what he stated, sir, yes.
Did you have sexual relations with, well, let me back up. How many older children does Mr. Thomas have to your knowledge?
He has 5.
And who are they?
So the oldest one, I believe, there's Nadia, there's Dalton, there's Ethan, there's Chris, and there's Devin.
And on any of those 5 adult children, and as you're under oath here today, did you have sexual relationships with any of those children?
No, sir.
And did you ever admit to Mr. Thomas that you had sexual relationships with any of those children?
No, sir.
To your knowledge, do any of those children have a relationship with Mr. Thomas at this point?
No, sir.
Do you keep in contact with some of them?
Yes, sir.
There was a company, the Clarksville Granite, that Mr. Thomas operates as an LLC. You heard about that yesterday, correct?
Yes, sir.
And it was your testimony that you helped out with that company, right?
Yes, sir.
What sort of things would you do for that company?
The first thing was phone calls were routed to the business phone was routed to my phone. So any calls that were incoming to the business came to my phone. So I answered anybody that was calling, inquiring about Granite, or there was like local distributors like Cambria and Cosmos and Triton, some suppliers that I also dealt with. There was multiple times that I met with clients at the business to go through stone sampling to pick out what kind of, whether it be granite or quartz countertops they would like. I also met up with a few of the sales reps for the companies for lunches to see about getting their product into our store and what we could do to sell their product better. And there was multiple times that I went with Michael to the job sites and we were there for house measurements. Actually, a good portion throughout our relationship, I was going on measurements and we would do lunch together. And I worked with him that way. And I would work with the builders when they needed something. Then I would just relay the message to Michael if I couldn't answer, or for any prompt needs, I would relay them to Michael to help out as well.
That sounds like a lot of duties that you had throughout the business on any given day. Mr. Bellamy, opposing counsel, asked you this question. I'm going to re-ask it. Did you get paid a salary?
No, sir.
You get paid per hour?
No, sir.
You ever receive a paycheck from Clarksville Granite LLC in any way whatsoever?
No, sir.
You have access, specific access, personal access to the business account or accounts for Granite, Clarksville Granite LLC, or any other business that was run by Mr. Thomas?
No, sir. There was times that he would give me the business credit card to go make purchases with. Outside of those times he gave it to me, I had no access to the account, sir.
And were those purchases that were related to the family or to the business directly in terms of purchasing supplies for the store?
It was a multitude of reasons for both business and for private use.
Because I also heard, I want to make sure you heard yesterday the testimony of Mr. Thomas about how he's able to use that and he uses that for business expenditures. Did you hear that?
Yes, sir.
You were with Mr. Thomas for some time. Y'all would do things as married couples do, I assume. You would go out to lunch and dinner and entertainment, things like that, correct?
Yes, sir.
And on those occasions, do you know how Mr. Thomas would pay for those outings?
Mostly on his business credit cards or debit cards, sir.
So even though it's got a business name associated with it, were the things that you were seeing Mr. Thomas spend money on in the personal life, were they related to the business itself?
No, sir.
In terms of the marital residence that you were staying at, do you know how certain utilities were paid?
Yes, through the business checking account, sir.
In terms of your vehicle, the expedition that was being talked about, do you know how that was being paid for? If not, that's perfectly fine.
I don't know, sir.
All right. And you heard his testimony previously yesterday of purchasing the 2025 Ford Mustang through the business. You heard that, right?
Yes, sir.
And were there other vehicles that you know Mr. Thomas to have purchased through the business account?
I don't know if he purchased them through the business account, but his vehicles had commercial plates. He had a 2000, I don't believe he has it anymore. I'm not sure, but he had a 2020, I think it's 2023 Ford F-250 Super Duty truck. He has a 2017 silver Ford F-150 truck. He has two box trucks at the work. When I had left him, he had the two box trucks, and that was his vehicles. And my expedition.
Understood. Did your expedition have commercial plates on it as well, or no?
Yes, sir.
And well, strike that question. I apologize. Going back to the business, I've got to ask this uncomfortable question too, Ms. Thomas. It was insinuated that he had to fire the entire, I believe, cabinet department, if I recall correctly, because there were sexual relations that you had with the entire cabinet department. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes, sir.
Was that in fact true?
No, sir.
Did you have relations with any of those individuals?
No, sir.
Was there anyone from the company that you had inappropriate sexual relations with in any way?
No, sir.
When Scarlett was born, or after Scarlett was born, did Mr. Thomas deny paternity?
Yes, sir.
And is that why there was a paternity test that had to be done?
That's correct, sir.
Did he do that to you? Did he say anything about him denying paternity prior to this litigation beginning?
No, sir.
Did you have any doubts as far as paternity in terms of Scarlett?
No, sir.
Give me just a moment, Your Honor. There were questions made about this adoption process as well. I believe you stated at one point that you had spoken to friends who, or people that were associated with Mr. Thomas. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, sir.
Do you recall their names?
Yes, Tammy and Roger Daniels.
Tammy and Roger Daniels. And that didn't go through as far as the adoption, right?
That's correct.
And did you continue to talk to Mr. Thomas about the adoption after that fact?
Yes, sir.
And did Mr. Thomas ever indicate that he would sign adoption paperwork?
Yes, on two different occasions, he had told me that if I signed or if I would sign divorce papers, he would have signed the adoption papers. And then when I was at his sister's house for the bachelorette party, he also, with her on the phone, stated that if I would agree to sign divorce papers and walk away with nothing, he would sign the adoption papers.
Those were the words that Mr. Thomas spoke to you and to his sister at that point.
Yes, sir.
And did you sign the divorce papers? Did you agree to walk away with nothing from this marriage?
No, sir.
But your understanding from Mr. Thomas's statements were if you sign divorce papers, he'll sign the adoption papers.
That's what he said, sir. Yes.
Now, were there other communications where Mr. Thomas talked about not adoption, but abortion?
Yes, sir.
And how many times did that occur? Was that a one-off or did it occur on multiple occasions?
It probably occurred around 2 to 3 times, sir.
And can you recall what sort of conversations Mr. Thomas had with you about potentially having an abortion prior to that child being born?
Yes, when I was in Texas in the summertime, that's when I figured out I was pregnant when I took a pregnancy test on that trip. And I had called him to let him know the news. And that was his response, was to abort it.
That was the immediate response.
Yes.
There wasn't any happiness or jumping for joy or anything like that?
No, sir.
It was just immediately, this child should be aborted.
Yes, sir.
Did you agree with that position?
No, sir.
What was your response to that?
I was really sad. I did not want to do that. And so that's when my mind immediately went into versus that, finding a family that could provide the environment that the child needed.
Now, Ms. Thomas, you have in your care and custody multiple children. You are a mother.
Yes, sir.
Why did your mind go, as you said, why did your mind go to the adoption side of things?
Because of the amount of times that the abuse was occurring, it was becoming more frequently due to the erratic behavior that was occurring at that time period of locking himself in the bedroom for multiple hours and withdrawing himself from the family. And there was a highly concerned on my end for being able to provide this child the stable home life that it needed to succeed in my eyes of what I wanted it to have versus what I wasn't going to be able to provide it given the circumstances of being in our relationship.
In terms of, and I think you've mentioned this a few times, I meant to ask you about it before and I neglected to, so I apologize. You stated that Mr. Thomas would lock himself away for multiple hours. Was that a frequent occurrence?
There within the last few months, several months of our relationship, sir, yes.
And who was left to tend for Scarlett and the other children in the home during that period?
I was, sir.
And you were doing that while you were pregnant at that point. Is that a fair enough statement?
Yes, sir.
I believe that Mr. Thomas was charged with certain criminal actions. Is that your understanding?
Yes, sir.
And those actions stem from the relationship that y'all had together. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And I may be wrong about this at one point, but was there an allegation of sexual assault?
Yes, sir.
When did that allegation, do you recall that incident? Let me start there.
Yes, it happened the night I got back from the bachelorette trip.
That would have been the night that you got back from the bachelorette trip that you talked about where he didn't have Scarlett. Funds were taken out. It was 3 days, all of that we've been over.
Yes, sir.
And I believe that criminal charge has been is not being prosecuted any longer. Is that your understanding, or do you know?
That's correct, sir.
No matter whether Mr. Bellamy asked you about things in terms of whether or not Mr. Thomas has been violated on his probation or whether or not he's been arrested for certain things after September 2025, were there things that Mr. Thomas did that never resulted in criminal charges being brought against him
Yes, sir.
in terms of the relationship between the two of y'all?
Yes, sir.
Call the police every time he picked something up and threw it?
Can you repeat that, sir, please?
Of course, of course. Did you call the police every time he picked something up and threw it through the house?
No, sir.
Call the police when he threw the vape cartridge, I believe it was, while you were holding Scarlett?
No, sir.
Did you call the police when he made it to where the oven wasn't working?
No, sir.
So there were times where the police just weren't called. Is that a fair enough statement?
That's correct, sir.
The police were called and you did make statements to police regarding the sexual assault aspect of things, right?
Yep, yes, sir.
And you understand you're under oath here today. Can you tell the court what happened during that?
Yeah, so I came home from the bachelorette trip and he was going on a rage. Well, prior to that, he had left me. One of the times he had financially cut me off was I was about 45 miles out from the house and he had emptied the account to where I had no gas money to make it the rest of the way home. And my parents had afforded me the money so I could make it back home from the bachelorette trip. And then I get to the house and then he's accusing, I believe it was like $4,000 when I got in that was stolen from his truck. Well, I physically wasn't there over the weekend. And it escalated on that conversation because I said, who would steal $4,000? I wasn't here. Well, I said the kids wouldn't do it. Well, he's like, I think he mentioned a ghost. Well, then it was a GD ghost that did it then or something. And I said, Michael, that's the craziest thing I ever heard. For one, he always sleeps with his keys. He never lets his vehicle keys out of his possession. He's does that with his phone and his keys. So you don't get them out of his arm's reach. And so the conversation escalated at which he kicked the living room table at me, the side table. And then as
A side table, you said?
yes. And then
That-
as I tried after that incident, I tried leaving the house so I could go to the sheriff's department because he became very honestly, that was probably one of the worst night. Well, it was the worst night that I had had with him. And I knew that it wasn't, I knew his temper and I knew it was worse that night than what I had honestly previously had seen it. And so I tried to get out by saying I was going to go to the Dollar General and take the kids with me so I could go on the back side of the sheriff's department. And he wouldn't let us leave without him. And he said, I'm going to go. We're all going to go together as a family. And so then I started to go to the Dollar General and we went there together and there was multiple interruptions on that trip in the short duration that it was for us to get to the Dollar General. We went and got out of the Dollar General and then I stuffed the keys in my bra because I knew him because when he gets angry, he takes off with my keys. So I'd put the keys when I got to the Dollar General down in my bra and he was wondering where the keys were at. And I knew what that was going to entail because like I said, as soon as usually he got angry, that was what he resorted to was taking my keys from me. And so I had just gotten smart at that point after previous multiple experiences with that. And then we got back in the car and we headed back home. And then the kids were in bed. I got the kids into bed. And then he got verbally aggressive again. And then we split off. I went to the bedroom with Connor and Scarlett. No, I didn't have Scarlett at that time. I'm sorry. It was just Connor. Connor was in our bedroom. And he came in there and he basically told me that, if to the best of my recollection, because it's been a while for verbatim wording, but basically that he was sorry that that wasn't Michael. Michael didn't say those things and Daddy's sorry. And then he proceeded to put himself upon me and Connor was right there. I told him I didn't want to do it because Connor was right there and no. And then he says, you come out now or I'm going to wake him up. And so I didn't want Connor to be woken up. And I went out there and then he proceeded to try to take my bra off. And when he tried to take it off, my bra broke. And then I wanted to get away and he told me to follow him into Connor's bedroom because Connor slept with us or with me that he slept in our bedroom. And so he told me to get into Connor's bedroom and then that's when he put himself upon me. And that's he did until he came and then the next morning, as soon as I knew I could get out when he was asleep, I packed up the kids and I went to the police station.
Thank you, Ms. Thomas. And just for the record, I've got to ask, about when did that happen? Date range?
That happened on September 21st. And I think I might have gone, I'm just roughly guessing between 5 to 7 p.m. that night. It was when it all started when I got home.
And that was 2025?
Yes, sir.
Scarlett had been born.
Yes, sir.
All your other children were in the home as well.
All but Scarlett because Scarlett was with my parents, sir.
but all the stepchildren were in the home.
Yes, sir.
Ma'am, do you feel comfortable with what you've seen happen and what you've had happen through this relationship? Do you feel comfortable with Mr. Thomas being able to take Scarlett to Tennessee and having Scarlett around him without anyone else around?
No, sir.
You understand that he's the father of Scarlett.
Yes, sir.
You understand that he may very well at some point have clear visitation with Scarlett. That's this court's judgment call to make after hearing it.
Yes, sir.
At this point in time, do you believe that Scarlett knows exactly who he is?
No, sir.
Would you be willing to, in some way, facilitate telephonic calls between the child and father?
Absolutely.
Your parents, I know there's an order of protection in place, right? Do you believe that your parents would be willing to facilitate those phone calls so that the order of protection isn't violated and Mr. Thomas isn't going through any sort of violations in that manner?
Absolutely.
Any sort of in-person visitation that may occur between Mr. Thomas and Scarlett, would you feel comfortable with that happening in Tennessee, or would you prefer that it happen in West Virginia?
In West Virginia, sir.
Do you believe that Mr. Thomas has been stable enough to show that he can handle Scarlett without anyone else being around?
I don't believe so, sir.
And since Scarlett has been born, has Mr. Thomas been in a position to handle Scarlett for any extended period of time without anyone else around?
Can you ask that one more time, please?
Of course, yes, ma'am. Since Scarlett has been born, has Mr. Thomas been in a position to take care of y'all's daughter by himself without you or some other person around as an adult?
No, sir.
So he's never had to do that.
No, sir.
In fact, you've asked him to do it again. You've asked him to do it, and he said no.
Yes, sir. And there was sorry.
No, go.
There was also a part of my reasons for her safety as well during the duration of our relationship after she was born. On a few of the times that he thought it was some funny game to try to, I don't know, obtain a reaction out of me. He thought it was funny to hang her upside down by her feet as when she was a couple months old, thought it was hilarious to give her beef jerky, Slim Jim sticks in her mouth. There was a time that he gave her whole milk out of the jug thinking it was funny, as well as there was another occasion where he tried to give her bites of a oatmeal cream pie cookie.
Or at that period of time, was Scarlett on any sort of solid food like that?
No, sir.
At that period of time, she was very young.
Yeah, she was 3 months old at the time.
And you expressed displeasure about it?
Yes, sir. It made me irate because you can't do that to an infant.
And did Mr. Thomas change his behavior in any way?
No, he just laughed and thought it was funny.
And we heard from that video earlier that you may have your own parenting style. Does Mr. Thomas care about what your parenting style is?
I'm sorry, what was that last question?
We heard from the video earlier that you may have your own parenting style, but does Mr. Thomas care about what that parenting style is?
No, sir.
Does he care about what you want as a parent?
I don't believe so, sir.
And as far as your other children, he claimed that those other kids were being truant and that you were letting them just not go to school, period. Was that accurate?
No, sir. I can recollect 2 times that the arguments were severe enough where he woke up the whole house during the nighttime, and they were kept up till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning because of his rants. And on those 2 particular instances that he woke up the house, I did not make my kids go to school that day, sir.
Was there ever any charge of truancy that you're aware of for any of your kids?
No, sir.
At this point, should this court order visitation, are you asking to start off with purely telephonic visitation?
Yes, sir.
After that, should there be any sort of in-person visitation, would you ask that that happen in West Virginia?
Yes, sir.
Would you like for that visitation to be supervised?
Absolutely, sir.
Obviously,
I
there's.
believe you've asked her that more than once.
I apologize. And for the financial aspects of things right now, are you asking the court to maintain what is there financially for you?
Maintain. Can you rephrase that? I'm sorry.
You're getting the $1,500 he's paying for the expedition and the insurance. Are you asking the court to maintain that as of right now?
Yes, sir.
Those counsels may have a few more questions for you. Thank you,
We're going
Madam.
to take a mid-morning recess before we begin. Let me just ask this question, and I'll allow your lawyers to ask it as well. You understand, Ms. Thomas, that that Mr. Thomas is asking to be made the primary residential parent for Scarlett and for the baby Thomas as well, but we put a pause on that. And my question would be, and you might want to address it with Mr. Kirby, assuming for the sake of this discussion that I find that Mr. Thomas should be the primary residential parent. You understand that? Let's assume for this discussion that I make him the primary residential parent. How often would you want to see Scarlett if she lives primarily with him?
Oh, as much as I could, sir.
You may ask.
Ms. Thomas, are you able to hear me okay? Still?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I've just got a few follow-up questions for you, okay?
Okay.
So it was your testimony when Mr. Kirby was asking you some questions that you had stated that during a good portion of your marriage to Mr. Thomas, you guys would go out, meet clients, go to lunch with clients, that you were actively involved in that business. Is that what you just testified to?
Yes, sir.
And so all of that's going on while at home you're testifying that you're in this abusive relationship, that he's taking food out of the fridge, that he's cutting the power off to the oven, but you're going out and meeting business clients with him.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and you don't tell anybody about this stuff that's going on, do you?
Only my parents and his sister, sir.
You don't tell anybody else. You didn't call the police and get help other than the time in September when you reported to the police station. Is that correct?
I called one other time before the marriage started. Yes, sir.
And you filed an order of protection then as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
You voluntarily dismissed that order of protection. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And I believe it was your testimony that you are in fear to be around Mr. Thomas yourself. You're in fear for Scarlett to be around Mr. Thomas, and you're in fear for your other children, his stepchildren. You were in fear for them to be around Mr. Thomas, correct?
Yes, sir.
But when you went to the bachelor party in Atlanta, you left your two older children there with Mr. Thomas, correct?
Yes, sir.
Was that just because it was convenient and you didn't care that you were in fear, or why did you decide to do that if you were in fear?
They had school, sir, and actually my 16-year-old, 15-year-old daughter at the time, that's usually the one that he had problems with. She went to stay at a friend's house during that time while I was gone.
But the other two children you left with him, correct?
No, the 4-year-old was with,
And Connor?
Dominic was with him. Yes, sir, not Connor.
Okay. And there's been some concerns about Dominic, is that correct?
Concerns about Dominic. Could you please recollect me on what the concerns are?
Did you ever express to Mr. Thomas that Dominic had touched your son Connor inappropriately?
Connor, at a portion of our marriage, had said that he'd say, Dominic, cut my pee-pee. Yes, sir.
And you requested that Mr. Thomas provide extra supervision when Dominic was around, and you kind of wanted him and Connor to be separate at times. Is that fair to say?
Yes, sir.
You wanted him to put up video cameras because of Dominic. Is that right?
No, sir.
You never asked him to put up any kind of video cameras?
He had an idea of putting a camera that he had within the house facing Connor's door, sir.
Okay. And you never discussed that with him?
When Michael brought it up, that's when it was discussed, sir.
So you did discuss that with him?
Yes, sir. In that context, when he brought it up, yes, sir.
And you had those concerns about Dominic, correct?
At that time, I thought it was odd that he was saying that, but after then Connor is just saying, I was just playing.
Okay. But Dominic's in the home where Scarlett is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And so I believe it was your testimony that December 12th, 2023, he took your key, Mr. Thomas, you allege, took your keys, wallet, and phone and cut the Wi-Fi off. Where were you located? Was that at the house? Were you in Georgia? Were you in Texas? Where was that at?
I was at our house, sir.
Okay. And so it's your testimony you didn't have any methods of communication.
During that time period, no, sir.
Okay. And how long did that last for?
I believe it was 3 days because I think it was on the fourth day he came back and handed me back my keys, sir.
Did you immediately leave at that time or call the
Yes.
police?
Yes, sir. I left. He had told me he was going to stick the barrel of his gun down his throat and let me watch his blow his brains out, and that he wanted me to watch him do that. After that, I proceeded to head on to the Dixon County Police Department, sir.
Okay. Did you file a police report at that time?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you have that with you? Did you
No,
provide
sir.
an attorney? Okay. And then in December of 2024, and that's previous to the marriage, December of 2024, you testified that you were in Virginia and he had threatened to kick you and the kids out. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
He was with you in Virginia at that time?
No, he was in Tennessee and I was in West Virginia with my parents, sir.
Okay. And so do you have messages where he's stating he's going to kick you and the kids out?
Yes, sir.
You don't have those before the court today? You don't have those text messages? You didn't give them to your, I'll strike that. But you don't have those text messages to present to the court today?
I don't have them physically to give to you all. No, not today, sir.
In May of 2025, I believe was when you testified you were at the hotel in Georgia and that he left. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You testified you called his phone multiple times and he didn't answer. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You have proof where you contacted him multiple times and he never answered.
Yes, that and through text messages, sir.
But you don't have those to provide to the court today.
I'm not physically there, sir.
You testified that the bank account was zeroed out.
Yes, sir.
Is that because your card was declined or you had access to the, could you check and see that the bank account was zeroed out? How are you saying the bank account's zeroed out?
So because when you go to the bank account and you pull up your app and there's $0 in the account, in our joint account, that's how I figured out. Or there was times before he added me onto the joint account where he let me personally use his debit card off of his own account and he would turn off his card from the app.
Okay. Did you take a screenshot of that at the time when the bank account reflected $0 while you were stranded in Atlanta or Georgia?
No, sir. I would just sit there and say through text messages, which I do have, which I can provide the courts at when I can physically get them to them, or through my attorney, where I said the card is zeroed out. There is no money in it. Why is there no money in it again? There's multiple text messages throughout the duration of our marriage that where he had emptied or turned off the card to which I had no access to money.
And I believe it was your testimony that that was during an argument you allege you woke Mr. Thomas up in the early hours of the morning to take care of Scarlett. A verbal argument ensued and he left. Is that right?
That's correct, sir.
He peacefully went away, or you didn't have to force him to leave. You didn't contact the police for him to leave. He voluntarily left. Is that correct?
That's correct, sir.
He went to his sister's house to cool off, calm down, whatever. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
He came back and picked you up. Is that
He
correct?
did not come back and pick me up, sir.
He arranged for you to make it back to Tennessee. Is that correct?
That's incorrect, sir. His sister is the one that talked him into leaving the vehicle so he wouldn't leave me stranded without a vehicle. The whole plan along was to leave me in the state by myself with the children without a vehicle.
Did Mr. Thomas's sister have control over his vehicle?
No, sir.
So Mr. Thomas left you with a vehicle. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You had testified that Mr. Thomas would require you to meet certain stipulations for you to have access to marital funds, correct?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any physical proof with you today to show the court these stipulations, requesting nude photos or sexual favors or anything of that nature?
I do not have the physical ability to give the courts copies of those today, sir.
And it was your testimony, there were multiple occasions where Mr. Thomas would scream, lose his temper, break things in the house, clean out the fridge. And did those things happen before you decided to leave your 14-year-old child with him?
Yes, sir.
But so you still felt it was safe enough for your 14-year-old to be with him at that time. Is that correct?
Sir, it wasn't about feeling safe. It was a part of our everyday norm of what I dealt with him, sir.
And your 14-year-old child, does he have any special needs?
Yes, sir. He's autistic.
And is he verbal?
Yes, sir.
And you felt like Mr. Thomas could care for him?
I feel that my 14-year-old is pretty self-sufficient, sir. Outside of needing somebody there watching him and making sure, obviously, normal parental duties of making sure nothing happens, sir.
You testified as well about an incident where your expedition was removed from a parking lot and there was a white truck that you identified as Mr. Thomas's truck in that parking lot after your expedition was gone, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you physically see Mr. Thomas take the expedition?
No,
With your-
sir.
Okay. Did you review, or are you in possession of any type of video footage that demonstrates Mr. Thomas getting into the expedition and driving away?
Sir, I saw evidence when the hearing in March occurred and the property manager of that property that leases it to the doctor's office.
I'm going to
Had-
object.
Hold on
Answer.
just a second.
That is not the question that I asked. The question I asked is she in any physical possession of any video footage that demonstrates Mr. Thomas getting in that vehicle?
Right.
The question is
Do
she in
you have
possession?
in your possession any physical evidence to demonstrate that? Yes or no?
And Your Honor, just respectfully, that wasn't the question that was asked, I don't believe. It was, are you in possession of it, or have you reviewed anything that has been brought up?
I don't recall the review.
I don't
from it, but
believe I said
he's
review.
rephrased his question. So the question now before the witness is, are you in possession of any physical evidence of Mr. Thomas getting into the vehicle and driving it away? Is that correct?
No, sir.
And again, it was your testimony that not only did you answer the phone for the company, you helped with the business, met with clients, you picked out countertops, and again, during a good portion of the marriage, you would go out with Mr. Thomas and meet at clients' houses and go to lunch with him and clients. That's your testimony before this court today, correct?
Yes, sir.
All while all this abusive situation's going on at home.
Isn't that typically how abusers work? They
I don't know,
keep-
man. You tell me.
You cannot ask him questions. You may only answer his question.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Were your children, you had made a report to the police that you were sexually assaulted in September of 2025. Did you have, were your children in the home during that period? I believe you testified they were. Is that correct?
Yes, all but Scarlett, sir.
Were they interviewed by the police?
What was that last question, sir?
Were they interviewed by the police?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you're aware that that charge went to the grand jury and they returned a no true bill on that charge?
It never went to the grand jury, sir.
Okay. So the police declined to take it to the grand jury or present the evidence to the district attorney?
That's correct, sir.
And you heard Mr. Thomas's testimony yesterday that he was adamant that that was not true?
I heard that. Yes, sir.
Judge, if I may just have one moment.
You may. Go ahead.
If I may follow up on that and follow up on what the court brought up before the recess. I believe there was a door that was opened that I'm going to try to walk through for just a second here, ma'am. At one point, was your daughter left in the care of Mr. Thomas?
Yes, sir. It was when I went to the bachelorette weekend, she was left in his care, sir.
And were there allegations that were made against Mr. Thomas following that?
Yes, sir, there was. She had claimed, I'm so sorry.
What were those allegations?
She said that he came
I'm gonna
downstairs to her bedroom.
Hold on just a second, Ms. Thomas.
I'm going to
You're
object to
objecting-
anything that the daughter says, Judge, it's hearsay unless it comes in under 80325, which I don't think a foundation's been laid for the court to determine that
I would
is
have to
admissible.
sustain it unless there's a foundation showing that it would come in under that exception.
Let me ask about this. Was the conversation that had with your daughter, is your understanding that it was of a very,
Which daughter are we talking about?
what's the name of the daughter?
Briah Lovejoy, sir.
And how old is that daughter?
She's 16 at this point, sir.
And at this time, how old was she?
She was 15, sir.
And were the conversation that you were made aware of, was it sexual in nature?
Yes, sir.
Overtly sexual in nature?
Yes, sir.
And was that something that was made, is that,
It was made aware to me and my sister-in-laws, which is Michael's sisters, sir.
and when that statement was made, can you describe how your daughter was behaving? Did she seem scared or frightened?
My daughter was panicked and freaked out because he had came down to her bedroom, sir, and she had told me that he had sat on her bed with her. And
Judge,
he
I'm going to
was-
review my objection to hearsay. Under 80325, I think the court has to make a determination that this is trustworthy, that the proponent of this.
Sustain the objection.
I'll move on. The court asked you before we took a break if Ms. Thomas was the primary residential parent, you would want to see Scarlett as much as possible, right?
Yes, sir.
But you haven't been the one that has emptied out bank accounts, have you?
No, sir.
You haven't been the one that's been throwing things around the residences, have you?
That's correct, sir.
You're not the one that stranded children on multiple occasions or their spouse on multiple occasions, have you?
Mr.
That's
Kirk,
correct, sir.
or that she was called as an adverse witness by Mr. Bellamy, but she is your client, and it seems to me you are leading rather than testifying for her. So I'm just going to instruct you not to testify for her. Ask her a question.
Yes, Your Honor. I apologize. Do you consider yourself to be in the same position parentally when it comes to Scarlett as with Mr. Thomas at this point in time?
I don't believe so, sir.
Now, do you fault Mr. Thomas for wanting to be a part of the child's life?
No, sir, I don't fault him.
That's a parent duty, right?
Yes, sir.
What is your goal from all of this for the beginning part of these things when visitation is occurring?
My goal is to make sure that Scarlett is safe and secure, that she is warm. I don't know what the word I should use is, but basically gets to really get to know him through what you had mentioned, possibly through FaceTime, like on the phone interaction. So she gets to know him. I don't want her to ever feel scared at this age. It's a young age, and children cling on to their caretakers. I've been her caretaker for her whole life, and she's obviously very secured to me. And I want the least trauma, the least amount of trauma possible I don't want that to happen to her. So the least amount of trauma that would not affect her is what my goal is, sir.
And at the very beginning part of this, have some sort of reintroduction.
I think that's highly important given her age, sir. That this is a age of stranger danger, and I know he's her father, and I respect that. I just want to make sure that her security and her safety is not pulled from her, and that is taken into consideration, sir.
Nothing further, Your Honor.
I have a couple of more questions. I'm a parent myself, Miss Thomas, and I'm struggling to understand why you would want to give up your daughter for adoption. And we've put a stay on the ruling only about whether or not I can make a ruling regarding custody of that child, whether or not I have jurisdiction. But I can consider the facts and the circumstances and the reasons why that child has been surrendered by you. Did you surrender your parental rights to that child in order for that adoption to take place?
Yes, sir, I did.
So you understand legally you and that child have no further connection. And if I am correct that I have jurisdiction, the only parent who has any claim to that child would be Mr. Thomas. You understand that, correct?
Yes, sir.
When you put this child up for adoption, tell me why you felt, I've heard your testimony, I understand what you said, but share with me exactly what your thinking was about taking a newborn infant and putting that child in with someone else to raise that child.
To be honest, sir, at the time I was already, and I think I mentioned in my testimony that things were already progressively getting worse in the marriage. And I was dealing with a newborn myself at the time, getting pregnant 2 months postpartum with a rapidly deteriorating relationship. I was honestly scared because I didn't, at that point, I didn't know how long the marriage was going to last at that point because things were starting to escalate more at that point. And my goal as a mom, I love my children. I love all of them. And placing her up for adoption was probably one of the hardest things I ever thought about doing. I have standards in my mind of what and how I want my children to be raised. And that is a Christ-centered home that they love the Lord, that they can provide a mom and a dad that can provide her the security and the foundations that I want for my own children. And at the time that I was married,
Have you considered putting Scarlett up for adoption?
no, sir.
And when you put baby Thomas, as we keep referring it up for, actually went through the adoption process, you had already separated from Mr. Thomas, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the question I would guess ask, what connection did you have to these folks in Colorado? How did you meet them? How did that come about?
Okay, so I had actually looked up on Google like Christian adoption agencies, and there was this place called Angel Adoptions, and I'd spoke to 3 different couples, and they were the third couple I had talked to, and I discussed what I wanted, what I was looking for to how I wanted her life to be, and some of those was, like I said, a Christ-centered home, and I wanted her to be fed breast milk, and I wanted to make sure they had been together for quite some time. That was important to me because I wanted her to have the stability of a mom and dad that I knew were gonna be able to provide that to her. And so over the course of months, we had messaged and talked almost every single day, relaying ultrasound messages and stuff. And so we developed a friend, like more than just an adoption relationship. We had formed a friendship throughout the course of the pregnancy. And so prior to even Amelia being born, I told you breastfeeding was one of the most important things to me. The couple had bought and gotten her breast milk prior to her arrival. When I gave birth to her in the hospital, I nursed her in the hospital, sir. And since giving birth to her, before they even left the state of West Virginia to go back to Colorado, I have continued providing her breast milk to make sure she still has my milk. And it was their request when I left. They said, we want to make sure she has her mommy's milk. Are you willing to give her mommy's milk? And I said yes. And so since then, it wasn't a decision that I just wanted to pawn off parental responsibilities on somebody else. I was trying to find my way after this abusive relationship that I was in, trying to repair relationships with my 2 older children from what they had seen and gone through, trying to figure out how I'm going to support my children on my own without having Michael's income. That's why I started the school full time to get up on my feet so I could financially support. So I don't find myself in a situation that I felt like I couldn't see my way out of because I could not financially support the children and I.
All right, and
And
when was baby Thomas born?
I'm so sorry, sir.
When was baby Thomas born?
She was born March 23rd, sir, of 26.
And that was, was that before or after this case had been filed?
This was after the case has been filed, sir.
This case was pending before this court when, and there was already an order down, I think, at that point for support of you and Scarlett when baby Thomas was born, correct?
So I think the support was in February, when I believe, to the best of my recollection, was February, and I think I got my first payment in either March or April, sir.
All right, and my last question is this. Did you consider the long-term effect on baby Thomas as well as Scarlett about
Ye-
separating these two sisters and having them grow up apart versus growing up in the same home?
Yes, sir, I did. I personally, I was adopted myself, sir, when I was a couple of days old out of the hospital, and I myself have 6 personal siblings out there that I've never met. And out of love for the child, I put her interest above my own. And I knew I live with my parents, sir, and I was forced out of the house because of repeated violations of the protection order, which Michael was given an ankle monitor on.
Well, let me stop you. I've heard all of that, but I guess my question was, you had testified a moment ago that you were worried about the trauma for Scarlett,
Yes,
but as
sir.
far as any trauma to the child you were surrendering, putting up for adoption, my experience has been, and you may know this because you were adopted, but my experience has been that children who were put up for adoption when they learned they were adopted, one of the questions they ask is, why was I given up? Why would my parents not love me enough to want to stay with me? And have you thought about the fact that that may affect baby Thomas?
And my answer would be I loved her enough to sacrifice my own wants over.
All right. Anything else for this witness?
Based on that. Ms. Thomas, the judge asked you that you signed your parental rights away. You executed a voluntary relinquishment, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And as a part of the proceedings, should any of the proceedings fail in terms of the adoption, the agreement, what does it say happens with the child that was born?
That baby Thomas gets brought back to me and not the biological father, sir.
And that was part of the agreement.
Yes, sir.
And so if anything were to happen with this family, if anything were to happen with this adoption, you would still have the rights to have that child in your home based on what you were executing at that point.
Yes, sir. That was the only way I was willing to proceed with the adoption, was to have those safeguards in place.
And so at this point, you've executed a voluntary relinquishment, but the adoption has not been finalized by any stretch. We all know this, right?
Yes, sir.
So there has not been a final order that has terminated your parental rights in any way.
That's correct, sir.
And so at this point in time, you still have all legal standing to have that child back in your care and custody.
Again, you are testifying on behalf of your client, Mr. Kirby, which I find to not be an appropriate way to ask the questions.
Understood. In your opinion, do you still maintain your legal rights to that child?
Yes, sir. No adoption has been finalized, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bellamy, you have other witnesses?
Roberta Gilman, this will just be solely for the purpose, it's a character witness that has known Mr. Thomas for 2 years. She's willing and able to assist and help him if the
She
court
here in
were-
person?
She is here in person,
Right,
Your
bring
Honor.
her
The
in.
court wants to hear from.
You'll step up here, please, ma'am. Come around and have a seat in the witness stand.
So help me God, yes.
Thank you. Just have a seat there and speak into that microphone, please. May need to pull the base of the microphone towards you, so.
Ms. Gilman, would you please state your first and last name for the court?
Roberta Gilman,
And Ms. Gilman, how long have you known Mr. Thomas?
more than 2 years.
Okay. And tell the court a little bit about yourself. Do you live here in Dixon County?
I live in Clarksville.
Okay.
I've been in the area for about 18 years.
Okay. And are you currently married?
I am
Okay. Who are you married to?
Scott Gilman,
Okay. And how long have you been married?
43 years.
Okay. And do you, Mr. Thomas, and your husband, are you guys friends?
Yes.
Okay. And so Mr. Thomas has met your husband?
Oh, yes.
Okay. And you guys are social friends, you go out to dinners together and things of that nature, is that correct?
My husband hasn't been out to dinner with Mr. Thomas,
Sure.
but yeah.
Okay. And so how often do you see or talk to Mr. Thomas?
I guess it depends. Sometimes we'll go a few months without talking.
Sure.
Or a couple, just a couple months, but yeah, we have a very, very nice friendship.
Okay.
Yeah.
So through the course of your friendship, have you become aware of why we're here today?
Yes.
Okay. And you understand that Mr. Thomas is seeking to gain parenting time of his children? Or of
Absolutely.
his child at this
Yes.
time, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And are you willing and able to offer Mr. Thomas any type of assistance if he should need it?
Absolutely.
Okay. And what kind of form could that take? Are you able to be a third party to pick up a minor child if you needed
Absolutely.
to? So you're
Yes,
able,
in any capacity that I could help.
so you're able to facilitate exchanges?
Sure.
Okay, if the court needed you to do that.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have children of your own?
I do.
How many children do you
I
have?
have two.
And what are their ages?
42 and 39.
Any grandchildren?
Yes.
How many grandchildren?
4.
Okay. And so you understand the undertaking if you were required to assist Mr.
Absolutely.
Thomas of what it's like having a 18-month-old child.
Oh, yes. I mean, I've flown I've taken transatlantic flights, to visit my 2 grandsons in England, and my daughter currently lives in California, and my son now lives in Spain. So yeah, I travel.
And so during the course of the 2 years that you've known Mr. Thomas, have you ever observed him to be angry or frustrated or scream or yell or have any kind of outbursts when you were around?
Never.
Okay.
No.
You've got no further questions, Judge?
Kirby, you may cross-examine.
Thank you, Your Honor. Morning, ma'am.
Morning.
My name's Anthony Kirby. I represent Miss Rachel Thomas, okay?
Yes.
Do you know Miss Rachel Thomas?
I do not.
So you've never spoken to her, never
I
met her? All right. So
Yeah.
as far as your opinion, you don't have an opinion of Miss Rachel Thomas?
I do not.
Okay, understood. Does Mr. Thomas speak of Rachel Thomas?
On occasion, yes, he'll talk about, the children and how he would like to see the children, and
Does he speak about her personally? Does he make any personal statements about her and share his feelings on her?
he's mentioned a few things.
What would those things be?
Just about how they just didn't get along. But initially, when I spoke to Mr. Thomas, I think the second time I saw him at my home, because I was contemplating getting new countertops and everything. So he was talking about how what a blessing his marriage was, and how God sent her into his life, and he was just totally blissfully happy, and it was just wonderful. It was like, yes.
So based on those interactions, there was a period of time where Mr. Thomas appeared happy in his relationship
Oh, 100%, just like over the moon.
and happy
And
with
I
Miss.
was so happy for him as well.
Perfect. Perfect.
Yes.
And happy with Miss Thomas as a parent and things like that?
Oh, he didn't go into, I mean,
Okay.
because it was like in
Fair
my
enough.
foyer, we were having this conversation.
Fair enough.
And there is another gentleman present, so,
Fair enough.
yeah.
And you haven't seen him yell or anything like that, is that correct?
No, I
Okay.
haven't.
So you wouldn't know anything about any testimony about him making a stove inoperational for 7 days, even though there's a small child that's breastfeeding?
No,
You wouldn't know anything about him throwing things in the home during the marriage?
absolutely not.
You wouldn't know anything about him locking himself away in rooms for hours on end to be away from the child or his spouse or anything like that?
No, I've never heard any of this.
And you,
No.
because all of your information is coming from Mr. Thomas at this point.
Of
right?
course,
Right.
absolutely.
So whatever sort of picture that Mr. Thomas wants to portray to you or anyone else, that's the picture that he wants to portray, and that's all the information you get, right?
Correct.
Okay. You travel a bunch?
Yes, I do.
How often do you travel?
Every probably couple months I
enough.
travel. Yeah.
It sounds like you got family that's overseas, California. I think you said Spain and things like
Yeah.
that. That's wonderful. And all of your children are adults now.
Oh, yeah.
And so you have a close relationship with them.
Oh, yeah.
You think that's important for a parent?
100%.
You think that if a parent has a close relationship with children that are adults, that means they probably raised them to be pretty good and were a good parent themselves?
Sure. I mean, it's our legacy, isn't it?
Would it concern you at all do you know, well, scratch that question. Do you know how many adult children that Mr. Thomas has?
He has 4.
Okay. Do you, would it surprise you to know that he doesn't have a good relationship with any of them?
Well, he did tell me that he felt like he was Job in one situation where his children were alienated from him. So, and he was devastated, obviously, as any parent would be if his children were alienated from.
And when he says alienated, he was talking about his adult kids at that point?
Yes. I think it was just 2 sons, though, that he was alienated from. Yeah,
Did
to
he
my recollection.
Did he say who made the alienation choice for these 2 sons to not have a relationship with Mr. Thomas?
It was a bit sordid.
But no specifics that you recall.
He did go into a little bit of detail about his 2 sons that were helping him run his business, and his soon-to-be ex-wife.
I'm going to put it
Rachel.
bluntly. He told you that his soon-to-be ex-wife had had sexual relations with his sons,
Yes.
and that she had had sexual relations with other people. Did he say any other people or just his sons?
He did.
Okay. Did he say that he thought that Scarlett wasn't his child at any point or no?
No.
Okay. He didn't express that to you.
No.
It was always Scarlett's my child.
Oh, absolutely.
Would it surprise you to know that he made statements on multiple occasions that Scarlett was not his child and requested DNA test?
No?
It would not surprise you or?
No, I mean, no, I didn't know about it.
Okay,
Yes, it
understood.
would surprise me.
Understood. Again, you're getting the version of Mr. Thomas that Mr. Thomas wants you to get at this point, right?
It's, I mean,
You-
correct. Yes.
Nothing further.
Anything further, Mr. Bowman? Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. You may have a seat in the courtroom, or you may leave. Call your next witness. All right. And Mr. Kirby, you have any additional witnesses?
I had one witness that I'd like to call. Her name is Ellen. She is the sister of Mr. Thomas. I provided her the link. Allow her.
Did you file the motion under Rule 43.01 to have her come in by Zoom?
No, Your Honor.
Pardon?
And call, it's because that rule has not been complied with.
No,
You
not
did
on
it
the-
for your client, but not for the witness. So,
Well, we just learned of the witness, which is why I couldn't comply with that as far as that's concerned. I I understand why Ms. Thomas might not want his sister to testify to corroborate things, but that's all she's providing at that point is corroboration of the instances the court's already heard of.
All right, well, I'm going to sustain the objection to any additional witnesses that would come in on Zoom, so.
And then at that point, we have no one else that would be in the state of Tennessee
Right.
to call at any point.
Mr. Bellamy, wish to make a closing argument?
We're here today on our motion for the immediate return of the minor child, and it was Mr. Thomas's first motion for extraordinary relief in this matter, and the basis for seeking that is
Let
that.
me interrupt and say one thing. I've reviewed this file 3 times, and there is no order that permitted her to leave the state of Tennessee that's contained within this divorce act. So when the reference has been made to an agreed order allowing her to remove herself and Scarlett to the state of West Virginia, it must have been entered in the order of protection case. It is not in this file. So.
And just on that, it had at the top of it circuit court.
Circuit court is where an appeal for the general sessions order of protection would lie. So if that's the case, that's where the order lies. But it's not, I just wanted to make you aware, it's not in this file. So.
Understood, Your Honor. I thought everything had been joined. I apologize.
Thank you, Judge. And so, Judge, we're here on the emergency motion or motion for immediate return of the minor child. And we understand that, and we respect the court's ruling with respect to staying the proceeding with regard to baby Thomas. However, we're moving forward with respect to Scarlett. And I know the burden is high for the court to issue that type of injunction or issue that type of extraordinary relief. We were required to prove immediate and irreparable harm. And I understand that the court might have some concerns that we haven't met that burden. The father's position in bringing this motion before the court is that he doesn't know. He gets informed she leaves in September under the order of protection, and he is served with adoption paperwork regarding baby Thomas sometime in the middle of May of this year. He does not know what the status is of their minor child, Scarlett. That gives him serious concern that his child, which DNA confirmed, was put up for adoption without his full knowledge and appreciation of what was taking place. I think the court can consider that in making its ruling today. I think as the court has previously stated, it's directly relevant on the mother's parenting ability of the minor child, Scarlett. And as we've set this evidentiary hearing for is to just establish parenting time. If the court's not going to grant the motion for immediate return of the minor child, Scarlett, father is asking for parenting time for Scarlett. We do understand that it's been some time since he has been in Scarlett's life. By the mother's own admission, she doesn't know who the father is. So we would understand if the court would require Mr. Thomas to go to West Virginia for a couple of weekends to exercise some overnight visitation with Scarlett prior to her coming to Tennessee. He is more than willing to do that if that's what the court thinks is necessary for him to reestablish a relationship with this child before sending her to Tennessee. The court has evidence. The court has pictures of his home. He has a setup. He has toys. He has everything he needs to take care of this minor child in Tennessee. He's willing to do so. Again, Mr. Thomas is on probation. There's been no violations. The court has heard there's been some criminal charges. We're not sure when those were exactly. We think those all predate the divorce with respect to the speeding and the aggravated assault in North Carolina and then the one in Georgia. But Mr. Thomas has been on probation in this county, and he has not been violated for that probation in this county. We would submit to the court that he has visitation rights to this child, that he should, at a minimum, once the court goes through any type of reunification procedures, since Scarlett's not in school, we would ask for month on, month off. We don't think that would harm Scarlett in any way. She's not in school yet. It might give the mother a break. She's got 4 other children in the home that she's taking care of. The father's more than fit, more than capable. I don't think the court's ever heard any direct allegation of the father harming or abusing Scarlett. The crux of mother's complaints arise out of their relationship. There have been no further issues if there have been no contact between the parties. I think the court can continue to keep no contact between the parties. The third party's been presented here today that's testified she would help or facilitate the exchanges. I believe Mr. Thomas has other individuals to help facilitate exchanges if he needed to do so. That's with respect to the motion for the immediate return of the minor children. Since the stay's been granted with respect to baby Thomas, I won't get into that, but the court's got jurisdiction. We believe the court has jurisdiction, and we will ultimately ask the court to return baby Thomas to Mr. Thomas once this appellate process is completed. With respect to the motion to reduce the spousal support, I think Ms. Thomas was disingenuous to this court just now. The court had questions and asked her why she would give up her child for adoption, and it's because she said the abusive relationship and the lack of support. If the court looks at it, including Mr. Thomas's temporary support payment, she's making $5,000 a month. She's not paying rent, and she doesn't have a car note. He's paying the $1,300 a month car note as well. $5,000 a month to raise, and I know that's a lot of children, but she's not paying rent. She's living at home with her parents. She doesn't have childcare costs. Her parents watch the kids for free if she's needed to babysit. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't have to go anywhere during the day. She's chosen to do online school, which she has testified she can complete during the night. So I think it's disingenuous to say that she gave that child up because she didn't have the finances. She was receiving plenty of money for Mr. Thomas to support that child, nor the ability to parent that child. So with respect to the spousal support, as Your Honor pointed out yesterday afternoon, the court can consider the factors enumerated in the Tennessee Code annotated regarding temporary support. Need and ability to pay being the two primary factors. I don't think Ms. Thomas has a need, nor does Mr. Thomas have the ability to pay. But most importantly, I think the court can consider here, as the court pointed out yesterday, is the duration of the marriage. We have a 17-month-long marriage, and it's longer than that because of the proceedings, but 17 months from the date of the marriage until the parties separated. Mr. Thomas is paying $1,500 a month and has been since February. There were some later payments, I understand, but those payments have been caught up. Those payments have been made. So we have February, March, April, May, June, and July. That's 6 months. He's not only paid $1,500, he's paid $1,300 on top of that for the car payment for the Ford Expedition that she's driving, as well as a couple $100s a month in insurance. A total benefit of about $3,000 a month for a 17-year marriage.
17 months.
17-month marriage, I'm sorry, Judge. Thank you for correcting me. So ultimately, Judge, we're seeking a reduction in the spousal support. Mr. Thomas is willing to pay child support calculated pursuant to the Tennessee child support guidelines, and we're asking the court to reduce spousal
So is
support.
he on the note for this automobile?
He
which
is.
He's been paying?
He is
So
responsible.
if I say he doesn't have to pay it anymore,
It would just harm his credit.
expectation? Pardon?
It would harm his credit, likely. And I don't know if there's another vehicle that he could provide to her. I don't believe there is. But certainly we're asking the court to reduce the spousal support. He's willing to pay child support, and some temporary relief with the vehicle. I believe the reasoning was for getting the big vehicle. She had so many children. She gave one of the children away. I don't know that she needs the Ford Expedition any longer. So ultimately, we're asking the court to conclude the spousal support to Mrs. Thomas, but Mr. Thomas is willing to pay child support for his minor child, Scarlett, at this time.
Mr. Kirby?
Thank you, Your Honor. If I may, I'm going to start off where Ms. Bellamy left off, which is the financial aspects of things at this point. The vehicle was bought, I believe the testimony, the vehicle was bought as a Valentine's Day gift, if I'm not mistaken. Is it an expensive vehicle? Sure, it is. Mr. Thomas made that decision. Mr. Thomas went out and bought the vehicle. Mr. Thomas gave that to Ms. Thomas. Ms. Thomas has been the one primarily using that vehicle, which is something that the court must consider under case law. Mr. Thomas has been the one paying that, which is the court must consider. I believe that when we're talking about the bills, and I'm going to consider that to be a bill of the parties' relationship, not a necessarily a support amount on top of anything, but the bills, the typical aspects of things is that those things maintain a status quo. Mr. Thomas is the one that was making money to the point that he thought I should go out and purchase a vehicle that has a $1,300 car note on it. And on top of that, after purchasing that vehicle for Miss Thomas, Mr. Thomas went out and purchased another vehicle, a brand new Ford Mustang, to which by his own admissions, he's at least put on a new muffler for. He didn't have to do that. He had a Super Duty, he had another truck, he's had a Harley Davidson. He has taken out this money. He is not in any way hardship for this. He talks about what was in his bank account. I believe testimony was that he would keep $1,000 to $2,000 in that bank account, joint bank account, checking account, while the parties were together. Now that Ms. Thomas has left, it's up to over $5,000 just based on his testimony, if we believe his testimony, which I'll get to in a little bit. He testified that he's got, I believe it was between $40,000 and $50,000 in the savings account. We presented proof of significant, sizable deposits that were being made into the work bank account. We submitted proof that just before their separation, he had over $250,000 available to him. $250,000, of which Ms. Thomas had absolutely no access to. And now he wants to come in here and say, I can't afford to pay for the vehicle that I selected. I can't afford to pay for the support that was previously ordered when he didn't show up in the first case. And he wants a second bite at the apple to make sure that he doesn't have to pay her. He can afford to pay her. He could have come that day. He could come that day and request a continuance. He didn't. The record reflects that the attorney for him at that point stated before this court that he was made aware of what was happening that day. But now he wants a second bite at the apple, and I say that that's a vindictive way of going about things. He has plenty of money to give $1,500. My estimation is that $1,500 is probably less than what he should be giving. On that $1,500, we have someone that's a full-time student. We have someone that didn't work throughout the entirety of their marriage. Well, actually, I take that back. Based on her testimony, she did work. She just wasn't paid for it because that would have given Mr. Thomas less control over her financially. She did jobs, she did things for the business, but she wasn't given a paycheck for that. And Mr. Thomas reaped the benefits of it and stashed away $250,000 in an account that she didn't have access to. She's now living with parents. It was previously that she was going to move to an undisclosed location. That location's been disclosed at this point because Ms. Thomas now knows where she is thanks to this hearing, but that was unavoidable. And so when it comes to what is there, this is a short-term marriage. Sure, it is. But the income discrepancy of what's been shown is exponential. The fact that he has chosen as the sole managing member of this LLC, he has chosen to pay himself $800 a week, $40,000 a year, should hold no weight to this court whatsoever. Testimony is that he's paying for his 2025 Mustang through the business account. He was paying for other things through the business account. Ms. Thomas's testimony was that they go out to eat. He paid for that through the business account. Like many people, he was living through his business account. He was living through the fact that he had $252,000 to his name that she had no access to whatsoever. And now we have to believe, even if we believe him, that he has $100,000 to live off of. And that's assuming that he makes no money whatsoever, which the business is still operating and still making money. He has every single ability to pay. She has every need to pay. Part of the thing that the court needs to take into consideration as well is fault, which I believe that there's been proof shown of abuse throughout this, proof shown of situations within the home that made it uncomfortable for my client to be there, has taken into consideration the educational difference. My client is going through education. She is doing that for herself. No one forced her to do it. She's trying to put herself in a better situation. This will not be a case of alimony and futuro. This will not be a case of where this goes on forever, but it is a case where she needs rehabilitative and/or transitional alimony, and it is not inappropriate in any way whatsoever for Mr. Thomas to be remaining in the financial predicament that he himself created with his own choices, and to remain in that place for the foreseeable future. As far as the children are concerned, I apologize. As far as the child is concerned, court's going to look through with this 36-106, and I'm going to hit on a few of them. I'm not going to do all of them, but a few of them. One, strength of nature. There is no relationship between Scarlett and Mr. Thomas. And again, I submit that that is of his own doing. We had an order of protection that was heard. It's now on appeal. I understand that. But it was heard. It was granted. We had Mr. Thomas being arrested for various charges, including violations of order of protection. We heard testimony, uncontroverted testimony, that there was this abuse within the home. The court heard the recording of what was just one example of what goes on in that home. The court heard the difficult testimony of my client of the abuse there. Yes, he hasn't had the opportunity to have a relationship with Scarlett, but let's not pretend that that opportunity was given up based upon, let's not pretend that that opportunity was given up based on Mr. Thomas's own chosen actions. Parents, caregivers, past and potential. Testimony was that he was given the opportunity to care for Scarlett on multiple occasions. He said, no, thank you. No, thank you. It wasn't until this litigation happened, it wasn't until he got notification of this adoption that happened, that he cared to come in and ask about any of it. Vindictiveness, that's all that is. Control, which he's exhibited throughout the entire relationship, financially or otherwise, taking keys, turning off Wi-Fi, taking cell phone, putting my client in positions where she's had to rely on others, or putting my client in a position where she's had to rely on income that she gets. And I very much stress to not call it income, because child support truly is not income. We look at Tennessee child support guidelines. Child support for another child is not considered income under those, and I think it would be a stretch calling it income for any other purposes, truly. But money that she received for her other children, she now has to stow away, because she's got to make sure that she can fill up a gas tank to get home, because she never knows when Mr. Thomas is going to go off the deep end and leave her stranded. And by the way, she never knew when Mr. Thomas was going to go off the deep end and leave the children stranded, to include Scarlett. If he cared about Scarlett, he wouldn't leave Scarlett alone without money. He wouldn't leave Scarlett alone without food. He wouldn't leave it to where there's not a stove to warm up breast milk for the child for 7 days. He wouldn't leave it to where he was going through, going to leave that child in a completely different state with mother having no money whatsoever so that she could find her way back to Tennessee. That's very much on a roll there.
I
When
think
it
that
comes,
was the timer on yours.
I understand. When it comes to that, there is no past caregiving ability for Mr. Thomas. And frankly, there's been nothing presented as far as his future caregiving ability. Mr. Thomas hadn't come in here today say he's done any parenting classes. He hasn't come in here today say he's done any anger management. He hasn't come in here today say that he's bettered himself. The only person he brought in at this point was to come in and say, I don't know any of these things. I'm told the information that Mr. Thomas presents to me, and that is it. That is it. Love, affection, emotional ties. Again, there are no ties. Degree to which the primary caregiver, mother's been that. Disposition to provide the child with food, clothing, medical care, education, and other necessary care. Again, I go back to the fact that mother's done those things on a limited basis, limited means, financial means, and father has actively chosen to stand in the way of mother being able to do that on occasion, leaving her stranded without being able to provide other necessary care and or food, depending on how the court wants to look at that. Importance of continuity in the child's life. There's no question of what continuity is here. Continuity is mother. Character and behavior of other persons, oh, excuse me, that one's not there. Evidence of physical or emotional abuse to the child, to the other parent, or to any other person, including the child's siblings. Court may, where appropriate, refer the issue of abuse to juvenile court for further proceedings. That's not, the latter part is not appropriate here, but there was proof presented, testimony and otherwise, of abuse that occurred. Verbal abuse, physical abuse. My client testified about sexual abuse. Those things happened in a home where stepchildren were. Those things happened in a home where biological child was. Those things happened in front of biological child and stepchildren. Those things happened while Ms. Thomas was caring for this biological child. Any other factors deemed relevant by the court? This is the last thing that I want to say here. These two stories cannot coincide in one ring. Ms. Thomas can't be telling the truth, and Mr. Thomas can't be telling the truth at the same time. They are complete opposites. The court has to make a decision on who has more veracity as they sit here today. Do we believe the individual who is clearly getting upset, clearly have a hard time speaking about certain things, clearly coming before this court and trying to give the best answers that she could? Or do we believe the individual that, as his spouse is testifying, snickers? Do we believe the individual that sat there and was evasive, especially when it came to finances? These two stories cannot coincide truthfully in the same realm. And the court has to make a decision of who is more truthful veracity. And I believe that my client, without a shadow of a doubt, has presented herself far better than Mr. Thomas has.
Well, this is here before the court on a motion for emergency return of the minor children or minor child. I guess all we're all dealing with right now is Scarlett. There are a lot of cases that this court has to hear that are unpleasant. This type of case is probably one of the most unpleasant and one of the ones that, in my opinion, takes its greatest toll on a judge who has to make that type of decision. Sentencing someone to prison doesn't bother me as much as having to make determination of custody of children, because when you're dealing with minor children, the only innocent parties in this scenario are Scarlett and baby Thomas. The only innocent people who are going to be suffering are Scarlett and baby Thomas. No matter what I do, they're going to suffer. And that really, is something that bothers me a great deal, because as Mr. Kirby points out, we have two contradictory versions of what has happened in this case. I have watched Mr. Thomas carefully, and I think that he has been less than forthright with the court regarding who was on that audio tape. And I think that was him, not his son. And I think that's a problem that he needs to address, is the fact that you can't excuse away everything or make excuses for something. Obviously, he was upset from the recording about his stepchildren at the time and what was going on in the home, and I understand that. I grew up in a home with a World War II veteran who had a temper, who broke things, who threw things out I remember clearly one of the grandchildren had a high chair that malfunctioned. Well, my dad took it out in the backyard and smashed it up against a tree until it broke it into pieces. And we all knew that when he was angry and upset, he was best to be avoided. And there were instances where my brother and I, who we were living in a town and we lived in a house where it was way up on stones. And we hid under the floor because we knew my dad had come home in a bad mood. And why am I telling you this? It's not because I want to share. It's because of the fact that my dad later became somebody who settled down, got control of his temper, quit drinking, and became a very reputable member of the community over in Houston County. Most people never knew him like that. They knew him only as the calm, kind, funny guy that he later became. So what I'm telling you is that Mr. Thomas has had obviously a situation where he was in a volatile relationship with Mrs. Thomas. And things happened that caused him to question her fidelity, and he became angry at various times over interaction with her children. He married her. She had these other children when you married her, and as a result of that, you should have known what you were getting into. You raised 5 children of your own. So as a result of that, Mr. Thomas obviously lost his temper, probably more than once. That makes him a bad husband in that regard, but it doesn't necessarily make him a bad father. Now, we contrast that with Mrs. Thomas, who has had 5 or several other children before she married Mr. Thomas, and then she married Mr. Thomas, stayed with him despite all of these things happening, and continued obviously she got pregnant and had Scarlett, and then continued to obviously have sexual relations with Mr. Thomas because she became pregnant a couple of months after having given birth to Scarlett. Well, her argument about this adoption process is that she wanted to give this child avoid the trauma that was going on in their home at that time. Problem with that argument is she gave the child up for adoption after she had gotten out of that, after there was a divorce action filed, when she had been permitted to relocate to another state. So that argument about not having to give the child up, wanting to give the child up because the child would be spared being in that volatile relationship that they had in the home, doesn't wash for this court. It just doesn't make sense because she could have, there are so many other ways. And as I've said, I don't understand the logic that goes into that. This is a temporary hearing, and as opposed to a permanent hearing, the court has to make a determination on what should be done regarding a temporary situation. Mr. Kirby refers to 36-6-106, which is having to do with child custody. And it is true that most of the time, even on a temporary basis, we go through those rights. But I would point out part of that statute is that in a suit for annulment, divorce, separate maintenance, or other proceeding requiring the court to make a custody determination regarding a minor child, the determination shall be made on the basis of the best interest of the child. It goes on to talk about some of those other things, but it goes on to say, in taking into account the child's best interest, the court shall order a custody arrangement that permits both parents to enjoy the maximum participation possible in the life of the child, consistent with the factors set forth in this subsection regarding the location of the residence of the parents, the child's needs for stability, and the other relevant factors. The court shall consider all relevant factors, including the following. 1, the strength and nature and stability of the child's relationship with each parent, whether each parent has been performed the majority of parenting responsibilities relating to the daily needs of the child. This court finds that prior to their separation, both of these parents had a stable relationship and a good relationship with Scarlett. Unfortunately, after the charges were brought and the order of protection was brought, Mr. Thomas has basically been cut out of the child's life. And as a result, the current status is that the child probably has a closer relationship with her mother than she does with her father. We will fix that, but that is a factor that still is there. Number 2, the parents or caregivers' past or potential for future performance of parenting responsibilities, including willingness and ability of each of the parents to facilitate and encourage a close continuing parent-child relationship between the child and both of the child's parents. This factor clearly is contradictory to what Ms. Thomas has told us. She intended for him not to have any contact with this child. She has stated that she would prefer that he have supervised visitation. I understand why she might say some of the things she said because her version of the events that occurred during the marriage, but I do not find that that favors Mrs. Thomas. Mr. Thomas has professed his undying love for Mrs. Thomas. You will get over that. Trust me when I tell you that with time, the only thing I hope is that instead of having this undying love for your former wife or your soon-to-be former wife, that you will not let it devolve into the hatred that I see so often. I don't find that Mrs. Thomas has the potential right now to encourage and the willingness to encourage a close and continuing parent-child relationship between Mr. Thomas and Scarlett. She certainly doesn't have that inclination regarding baby Thomas because she has put the child up for adoption instead of simply saying, hey, I don't want this child. I can't take care of this child, Mr. Thomas. We're getting a divorce. Here you go. Michael, this is your child to take care of. You take one, I'll take the other. That's an easy way out, but she didn't do that. I don't have any information to indicate there's either one failed to attend an educational seminar, disposition of each parent to provide the child with food, clothing, medical care, etc. Mr. Thomas, both of them have provided for the children, but Mr. Thomas was the primary caregiver, a breadwinner, and according to the testimony, Mrs. Thomas wasn't working when they married. She didn't work during the marriage except for helping him with his business, which he owned prior to the marriage, and she's not working now. So whatever providing of the children with food, clothing, and so forth has been by Mr. Thomas during the marriage and by Mr. Thomas paying support after the marriage and any kind of government assistance. Keep in mind that this court does not consider the issue regarding her child support for her other children. That's not before the court. She's not working, she's going to school. She's not providing support for these children. She's relying on Mr. Thomas to do that, or for this child at least. The degree to which each parent has been a primary caregiver, I do find Ms. Thomas has probably been primary caregiver simply because of what has happened in this case thus far. The love, affection, and emotional ties existing between each parent and the child. Mr. Thomas has professed over and over again his love for his children and his desire to have both of those children reside with him. Mrs. Thomas is concerned about Scarlett, but I don't find that she has professed the same type of emotional attachment that Mr. Thomas has. Emotional needs and developmental level of the child, I don't really have any evidence other than Scarlett was a little over 1 year or not quite 2 years old. The moral, physical, and mental and emotional fitness of each parent as it relates to their ability to parent the child. Ms. Thomas makes a lot of allegations regarding Mr. Thomas and his alleged criminal activity. Mr. Thomas, I don't know if you got bad advice, but you profess that you are not guilty of the charges against you, and yet you pled no contest. A no contest plea simply means you're not going to admit you did anything, but you're not going to contest the state's evidence. You may have gotten bad legal advice if you're truly not guilty of that. But that has been dealt with, and that is in the past. You're on probation apparently for some period of time. So as a result of that, whatever that situation that arose, I find that it was a factor that the court has considered, but also considers the fact that there is nothing pending against Mr. Thomas presently. Now, I have serious concerns about Mrs. Thomas and her emotional fitness to parent Scarlett, where she is willing to surrender a newborn infant that belongs to these two parties to someone outside of the family and starts thinking about it at the time. I understand there's postpartum issues and so forth, and that there may have been a lot of issues, but I still find it very difficult and find that this is a factor that at least equally applies to both, and that Mr. Thomas has his issues, but so does Mrs. Thomas. Child's interaction and interrelationships with siblings, other relatives, and then step relatives and mentors and so forth. She has family in West Virginia that she's staying with, so that's a factor for Scarlett. Here's another factor, as I pointed out to Mrs. Thomas. If I grant Mr. Thomas custody of Scarlett, and and then this child in Colorado is found to be that we have jurisdiction, then she has already indicated that she doesn't want the child because she's given the child up. I'm not saying that she doesn't want the child. She thinks the better relationship would be. Well, that's a factor that clearly is going to weigh in a custody determination regarding that child. How do you give custody to someone who has relinquished the right of custody, albeit with an agreement that if the adoption didn't go through, then it would come back to her. But this court has to make that determination. If I then find that Mr. Thomas should have custody of Scarlett, then he gets custody of the other child. They'll be together. The two children will be raised together in a family. That's just thinking ahead of what could lie in the future. But by the same token, Mrs. Thomas has been providing care for Scarlett, and taking Scarlett completely away from the mother is going to separate her from the other siblings that are the other 3 or 4 children that are in that situation, and would be a problem that this court has to deal with. That's why these decisions are so difficult. The importance of continuity in the child's life and the length of time the child has lived in a stable, satisfactory environment. It is important to have stability, and Mr. Kirby makes a compelling argument that means that the child ought to stay primarily with her. But the fact of the matter is that the stable, satisfactory environment has not really been proven, other than the fact that Mrs. Thomas is living in West Virginia with her parents and is in school. And the fact of the matter is that Mr. Thomas has had a stable relationship with the child, but once they separated, he hasn't. The evidence of physical or emotional abuse to the child or to the other parent or to any other person, including the child's siblings. I do find that there was some evidence that Mr. Thomas has lost his temper, and that there was an assault there, and that obviously is a factor that the court has to consider. Character and behavior of any other person reside in frequency in the home. I don't have any evidence about who is living there in the home with Mrs. Thomas. The parent's employment schedule, and court can accommodate that consistent with those schedules. Don't have anything else about their schedules other than Mr. Thomas is self-employed and he can adjust his schedule. Whether he's, and I think there are factors that are deemed to be relevant, and that, again, comes back to this court's deep concern regarding the best interest of baby Thomas and the fact that that child has been rendered for adoption without father's consent, and that is a factor that this court weighs. Based upon that, this court declines to determine that either of these parents should be the primary residential parent on a temporary basis, and instead places an order down that will establish a temporary custody arrangement whereby, because Mr. Thomas has been excluded from the child's life, he will be allowed to have visitation every weekend, starting on the 8th of August. He will have visitation in West Virginia, starting at 9 a.m. until 6 p.m. on Sunday. I'm sorry, make it 3 p.m. on Sunday. He'll probably have to drive home. From 9 a.m. on Saturday to 3 p.m. on Sunday in West Virginia. And they can determine if they don't want to do it in the town where she lives, that's fine. They can agree on a town close to where they can bring the child. Both parties can facilitate the exchange by having some other person other than Ms. Thomas deliver the child to Mr. Thomas. But I'm of the opinion that I don't want any violations of the order. You go through your lawyers if you have a question about the timing or if there's some problem comes up, somebody's sick and can't go, then you let your lawyer know and let them deal with it rather than you contacting them directly. We're going to do that. The 8th, 15th, 22nd, and the 29th day of August. You'll have 4 consecutive weekends overnight with your daughter. Starting on September the 4th, they will alternate monthly. The exchange of the child will occur on Friday, the 4th, and that will be for the entire month. And then they exchange the child back on the 2nd day of October, the 4th day of September to the 2nd day of October. And they will alternate the first Friday of each month on a monthly basis until a further hearing in this court. The court will appoint a guardian ad litem. Mark Odell, an attorney here in Dixon County, will be serving as the guardian ad litem. In addition to that, the court, regarding the child support issue, there was a prior order put down that just simply lumped everything together as a support payment. This was a very short-term marriage. There is indicated that they were married 17 months, but they were only together for about a year. And I am of the opinion that she was not working when they married. She was not working now. I think that child support should be calculated rather than just simply saying some sort of support. Child support will be calculated using his income as testified on his income and expense statement. Her income will have to be imputed because she has no income, so you'll impute it according to the guidelines. In addition to that, obviously she'll get credit for the other children in her care. The child support will replace the spousal, or whatever we call the support aspect. And as spousal support, I will consider his continued payment of the car note for her to be a modification that is now spousal support, because you have an obligation on it to make sure it gets paid timely. On a temporary basis, you'll pay that cart note and the insurance, but that will be the extent of that. The child support will be calculated based on this equal residential schedule, month to month, which will obviously affect the amount that has to be paid. When they go to the month to month, they can arrive and agree upon a mutually halfway point for this child to be exchanged. And again, Mrs. Thomas can provide someone else to provide that transportation rather than Mr. Thomas, or rather than meeting Mr. Thomas. The court is well aware of the fact that this places Scarlett back in the care of Mr. Thomas for a period of time longer than what would be, but we do that regularly. We do that on an alternating, when parties get divorced. It's not unusual to have an alternating weeks during the summer. And this is a child that's not in school, so I think that is an appropriate method. But I am relying upon the language in the statute that I quoted to say that this court is required to fashion an arrangement that it allows both parents to enjoy the maximum participation possible in the life of the child. And I think this is what the court should do, and that's why it will be a temporary order. Upon the interlocutory appeal being decided, the court will revisit these issues at another hearing regarding baby Thomas. I will tell you again, I fully expect that the Court of Appeals will agree with my ruling that the state has jurisdiction. I've reviewed the Uniform Child Custody Enforcement Jurisdiction Act again, and I still believe that this court, having commenced this proceeding prior to the child having been surrendered to the state of Colorado, or relocation or being born in West Virginia, does not defeat this court's jurisdiction, and I fully expect the Court of Appeals will agree with that. When they do, if they do, and it's returned to this court, then we will conduct the hearing appropriately. And I'm assuming that Mr. Bellamy, you will let us know when that happens. Mr. Bellamy will draw the order reflecting the court's ruling and setting forth all of the factors that I have found, and that will conclude this hearing today.
I will, Your Honor. Thank you.